Welcome to Too Many Tabs, a podcast where a husband and wife sit across from each other at a desk. And usually, I swear, usually, each month, one of them does topics and they research something. Each week, I know. But this month, we've been reading a lot of books. It feels like.
We're the kind of people that read books.
We read books, we go to libraries, we enjoy things, and then we tell each other about it.
Yeah, you gotta tell each other.
And one of us has no idea what the other one's talking about.
Yep.
Which is where the fun comes.
Yeah.
That's the basis of the show. That's what makes the show fun. But before you start the show, you have to do the intro, and then after you do the intro, you do the announcements, and then you get into the show. So let's get into the show.
Too many frauds and too many scammers that we wish weren't real. Too many cons and too many spammers, and we're starting to feel like we've got too many tabs open. It's too many tabs. Remember to smile.
Are you smiling? There
I'm
it is.
smiling.
That's a good smile.
We're back. It's our season finale. This is our season 2 finale.
That's right. We're closing on a Mrs. P's book club. We go hard around here.
But to be fair, we're closing differently than we closed last year.
How's that?
Last year we had a baby to close the show.
We still have a baby.
We still have a baby. We're not having another baby.
No.
It's just we've decided, and this is what we think it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Which is we take a couple weeks off at the end of the year.
Yeah.
1, baby's birthday.
2,
Christmas. 3, New Year's.
Yep.
And also this way we can all kind of readjust as we go into 2025.
Yep.
The year that is definitely
Gonna be awesome.
Sure. It's definitely going to be a year.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we have just a couple announcements just to remind everybody of just kind of what we're closing out here. If you're hearing this on 12/15, when we drop the episode, you have a couple days, if you're in the Philadelphia region, to come see me perform my last show of the year. I'm going to be opening for my friend Doogie Horner. It is going to be a live comedy special taping for Doogie. I might be recording something myself. We might figure out how we will distribute that. We don't know. There's a lot.
It's super fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's at Underground Arts. The link in the show notes. Also, the day after that, on Friday, December 20th, we are going to release on Patreon a new Vibing Out with the Food Moron.
That's right. We're doing it again. We got a lot of positive feedback.
Yep.
People loved vibing with the Food Moron to learn how to make deviled eggs.
Yep. And this time they're going to learn how to make something more holiday themed again.
Yeah, we're going to go a little holiday themed.
And it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We're going to sit down and record that soon. So that is going to be out.
I like how that implies that deviled eggs aren't holiday food. They're just an everyday
They are an
treat.
everyday thing. They are definitely on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Definitely. And also, you can also remember, if you're still looking for a really good deviled egg recipe.
We got one.
The recipe is free at pearlmania500.net. You just have to scroll down to go find it. However, if you want a detailed explanation from Mrs. Pearlmania as a man who knows nothing about cooking, asks every possible question that you could ever think of.
Yeah.
You should listen to Vibing Out with the Food Moron, which you can find exclusively at pearlmania500.net or patreon.com/pearlmania500 and join us at a $5, a $10, or a $30 tier. With that being said, we also have gift links. If you are already a Patreon member and you have a friend of yours who listens to the show and they're always complaining about things like ads, or they just really wish they could listen to it through a different app, specifically
and they were
the
like,
Patreon
what's going
app.
on in that warm-up? I want to hear it.
Yeah, I want to hear about the warm-up, or I want to hear the full Vibing Out with the Food More and all the other things, or you're just looking for a gift for a friend of yours who lives somewhere else in the world.
I got a gift for you.
Yes.
The gift of the tee-hee-hees.
The tee-hee-hee link, you can go to our show notes down below and click that gift link, and then you can buy a couple months for a friend of yours on Patreon.
Or family.
Or family.
Or someone you don't like.
You know what? Send us to your enemies.
Yes.
That's a good way to do
That's
it.
what I'm saying. Somebody you don't like.
Yeah. Send them. Be like,
Yeah.
listen
Listen to these two.
here's some yapping.
Yeah, you want to hear some fun stuff?
We give you the gift of the yap.
They're going to talk to you about libraries.
But I think with that being said, we're gonna try to be. Our aim is to be back with new episodes. Season 3.
Season 3, baby. We're doing it again.
On January 5th.
Only getting better. Aging like fine wine.
We're aging. So, but it's going to be season 3 of the podcast, which technically speaking is season 2 of Too Many Tabs.
Yeah.
Because we are keeping the name. We're not going to.
We're definitely not changing.
We're
It's
not
a good
changing the name. It's a great name. It's a name so good.
People keep trying to steal it.
Yes. Arguing with a German about a website. All right. So with that, we're very excited.
You ready to get
here.
going?
I'm ready to get going.
We got to get into this.
And so we're gonna do our first one And
little
then
break.
First little break. You're going to hear the little bumper, and then we're going to come back because this week we are doing a book, and that book is called
Secret Santa.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh my God.
So-
Buckle up.
so
We've got a book.
Secret Santa, and who is it by?
It's by this guy, Andrew Shaffer.
Okay.
Shaffer.
Okay.
Shaffer.
It'll be in the show notes.
He's the guy that wrote that Joe Biden Obama book. Remember that one? Where they were like on a little mystery venture together?
Yeah, it's like a murder mystery in Wilmington on the
Yes.
train.
On the train.
Okay.
He's the guy that wrote that book.
Okay, got it.
All
Okay,
right.
so he's an accomplished author.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 2 of those books.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is
Didn't age as well as us.
well, we're looking great. It's all the bow ties.
If you want to know what that reference is about, listen to the warm up. This week's warm up talking about the Botox.
So okay, I picked this book obviously because I want to do a holiday book, and Secret Santa is a horror book. It's a horror Christmas book. It's
Okay.
the meeting of all the best things.
Okay.
Holiday fun, Christmas,
Yeah.
adventures, and we're gonna have a good time.
You do love a scary Christmas.
I
though.
love a scary. Oh my God, Krampus.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yep. And then what was that murder one? Not Jingle Bells.
Jingle All the Way. No.
Jingle All the Way is a horror movie. It was the one with we always do this.
Every year. It's the guy from Stranger Things.
The guy from Stranger Things, that's Santa Claus
and
killing
John
John
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo. In one of the
You mean Luigi?
Okay. All right. Yes.
So here's something I need to tell you before we start this book. Is when I picked out Secret Santa book, I thought, oh, a fun horror book. It's set in the 80s, and I'm
Okay.
reading in the back of it. I'm like, this is going to be great. And then I open the book, and I read the prologue. I don't usually read you the prologues or the epilogues, because sometimes they're not really that important to what I'm trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
But I open this prologue, and I go, holy shit. This prologue means there's something we can't do. And I'm going to read you this prologue, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And it won't take you long either. Prologue. Merkirch, Germany, December 25th, 1945. Xavier Blackwood, MP of the 3rd Infantry Army, wasn't lucky enough to be one of the ones getting sent home right away. The War Department had created a point system for demobilization, and it favored those with families and children. Him and his buddy, Duluth, are out in the woods behind the barracks. They're drunk, and they're trying to find a Christmas tree to bring back to the fellas to cheer them up. They find a tree, and they go to chop it down, but the fire axe he's holding, like the metal iron part of the axe, falls off, and he goes to try to find it, and while he's out there, he sees it, and he's like pulling the snow away from it 'cause it's snowing out, and he realizes that it's not the axe, it's the rounded edge of a landmine. And then Duluth, they're both drunk. Duluth's drunk ass falls on top of him, pinning him onto the landmine. And Xavier rolls off, grabs his helmet, and he's hoping, like, with all the hope that the shrapnel will take pity on him so he can go home because he wants to go back to America to work in the library where he works.
Oh, he's a library guy. Okay.
He opens his eyes and sees that it's not a landmine after all, but it's the rounded edge of a boot. They dust off the snow and find a corpse of a man with a red armband. They see that the man has no face, only a black hole, and his skull is caved in like a jack-o'-lantern that's been outside too long. And there's a wooden box next to the man, and it has an iron padlock on it. Xavier uses the axe top, which he did find, to slam the padlock, and then he shines his flashlight into the box, and he has no idea what he's looking at. But as he picked it up, he felt that he didn't need to know because he felt a rush of warmth through his body, terrifying, warm, and thrilling. Duluth is like, hey, man, what's going on? Your flashlight's blinking. Let me grab you a battery out of my rucksack. And he goes and gets a battery, and as he turns around, Xavier takes the ash and bashes Duluth on the head from behind and murders him.
So it's a Nazi box? We're starting off with it. So
We're opening with a Nazi box.
So I can't hit the no Nazi guarantee.
There's no Nazi guarantee on this episode
There's
of
no
Book Club.
There's no Nazi guarantee.
A double negative on that.
Yep. Okay.
So that's how this Christmas book is starting.
All right. We're starting with the end of World War II in Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but that's just the prologue.
Okay.
Okay, let's get back. The story really starts in New York City, December 1st, 1986.
Okay.
A great time.
Yep.
People were having I was like 2 years old. I was living.
Technology, it was right at the right level.
Teddy Ruxpins all around.
Yep. No AI. There was no AI. Yeah. It was just good.
So our main character, her name is Lucy. They spell it Lussi. I hate it immediately.
That's actually Lucy.
I'm saying Lucy, and there's.
I'm
no
telling you
shade.
though, you can.
Lucy?
I'm saying if I was to
Lucy.
read that, okay, do you know the dog Lassie?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Lassie.
Yeah. Okay.
Lassie. I hate that. I
I
just want
know.
to call her Lucy.
You can call her Lucy.
I called her Lucy the whole book when I was reading it.
That's
I said,
fine.
I'm not saying that name.
That's
Lucy?
fine. I'm telling you, to me, that reads as Lucy.
Oh, God. So, Lucy.
Call her Luigi.
Lucy is walking up to the Blackwood Publishing Building in the East Village in New York. The 4-story brownstone is black, solid black, and it also has wrought iron bars on all the windows, not just the street level, but all 4 levels up. And it looks like a crazy Victorian insane asylum, right? And she loves it immediately. Goth aesthetic, she's in, right? She's like, this building is so cool. Across from the building is Thompson Square Park. And it's like, you know, an inner city park right across the street, but it's been taken over by a homeless camp.
Yeah.
And through the tents, there's people standing around barrels with fires in them. And she sees this guy in the distance with a fedora, and he's staring at her.
Okay.
Immediately, no.
I don't like a guy in a fedora.
I don't like a guy in a fedora staring at me.
Especially if I'm a woman.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, that's like every box right there.
Well, Nazi box.
Nazi
So,
box. Hey-o.
She adjusts her stirrup leggings and her big scrunchie.
Okay.
And then she hits the buzzer, and a voice comes through and is like, do you have an appointment? And she's like, my name is Lucy Meyer, and I have an interview today. And the lady hits open the door lock button, like the buzzer.
Yeah.
And she hears it click, and she shows up the door, but it's still closed. And the lady's like, you have to wait. And then 6 more locks get undone. It's like click, click, and she like sees like the whirring of all these different locks. Like crazy.
Yeah.
And so the door is also super heavy. So she's having trouble like opening it. It's like this huge, almost iron door.
Meanwhile, a man in a fedora is watching her.
Yeah. And it's not good. So she gets to the front desk and she's like, I have an 11:30 with Mr. Blackwood. And the receptionist directs her to the 4th floor. She's like, going up. He's up there. She has to take the stairs because it's an old building.
Yeah.
The building is gorgeous inside. And the whole time Lucy's walking through, she's like, this is Gorgina. Tarnished brass, marble, carved wood accents, warm lighting, like a vibe. And as she's walking through, she sees one of those like cork boards where like you have to put up the required safety regulations and the minimum wage posters. I think the minimum wage might have been the same. And
it was it was a little bit lower. It was about a quarter lower.
But she sees on those posters there's a handwritten note pinned to the corkboard that says it has information about their upcoming Secret Santa.
Okay.
And she's like, oh, so the staff is like they're chill with each other. They have a Secret Santa. It must be a good place to work, right? So she gets to the top floor and she opens the door and there's another receptionist. This one's much older, has blue hair. Her name's Agnes. And she shows Lucy into Mr. Blackwood's office.
Agnes is a name we don't name people anymore, is it?
No, but it would be cute to have a little tiny baby named Agnes.
Yeah, little baby Aggie.
Yeah, Aggie.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like Agnes, though, it has been just that's very much an old, like, I'm Agnes, I'm from Duluth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they make people in Duluth anymore.
I don't.
If they do, they only make Agnes's.
So she showed into Mr. Blackwood's office.
Yeah.
And she finds that he's sitting in like a huge leather chair, and he's got like one of those big mahogany desks that has the green leather top on it. And he is super old. Like this dude is old. And he doesn't stand up to shake her hand. He motions for her kind of like blandly to take a seat.
Yeah.
And he's like, Miss Meyer, and his voice is like nice but kind of rude at the same time. And he's like, this won't take long. I can already tell you won't do. And she's like, I'm sorry. I think I misheard you. And he's like, I've already interviewed 10 of you to make Agnes happy, but I'm afraid I've already chosen my new editor, and he's very qualified. No need to prolong the inevitable. You may go. And so she's shocked. She's pissed. She spent the last of her money to get her bangs trimmed. Okay, so she's like, no. Bangs are the thing on the front of your face.
I know what a bang is.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I know what a bang is. It's the 80s.
It's the 80s.
Why did you just gave me, like, I was just listening.
You looked at me like you were a little confused. I was like, maybe he doesn't know what bangs
No,
are.
I'm just listening. I'm just being nice and listening. You told me it's a short book, and I'm just like, listen, I'm like, there's a lot of setup for a page for chapter 1.
I know. That's why I gotta get you all the info.
I know, and I'm letting you go. I'm just go.
I just didn't know if you know what bangs were.
I know what bangs are because I've asked you so many times whether or not I should do them, and every time you go, ew, no. How?
You look like Wendy from Wendy's.
Oh, shut up.
So
I would look like a babysitter.
I
know what a bang is. I'm holding it. No, now I'm mad.
Okay, you stay mad. That's when you're at your best. She says, Mr. Blackwood, forgive me, but you're making a big mistake. And now he's looking at her like, who the fuck do you think you are, bitch, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, when was the last time Blackwood Patterson books hit the New York Times bestselling list? She's like, I know. It was August 1984, 2 years ago. And it was only there for 1 week before dropping it off. Now, I don't know about my competition, but during the last 5 years, I've had 13 New York Times bestsellers, right? And he sighs heavily and he's like, let me see your resume. And he looks at it, but like he's not really looking at it. And he's like, oh, The Kitchen Demon, Satan's Lament. These are, paperbacks. This is horror genre.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to make money?
Yeah.
Fucking get out of here. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't want to make money?
You don't want to make money?
I'm sorry. I don't want to make money?
And he's like, why don't you just go back to your current publisher if you're so successful? And she's like, I can't. Harper acquired them and they cut half the editorial staff. And he says, what even makes you think you are remotely qualified for this position? And like, she didn't even want to apply here. She was like running out of options. And she knew that they were snooty and only published depressing fiction books about like middle-aged dudes who jerk off and cry. And this is like her last resort. But because he's talking shit on her genre, she's like pissed off, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, cat got your tongue, Miss Meyer. And she's like, how dare you, right? Horror is the hottest genre in the industry. Stephen King, Straub, Anne Rice are in a 3-way competition to see who can kill more trees, bitch. Like, okay, so like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And
talking shit in the 80s on horror, like, while Stephen King is right there.
Yeah.
Just coked out of his head, too. Like, Stephen King was doing, like, rock star level drugs to the point where he doesn't remember writing some of his most famous books.
That's what cocaine does.
Yeah, but he still moved them fingies.
Yeah. Tippy-tappy.
Yeah. We don't want to do horror.
I don't want to do horror. And he's like, I don't need to read that garbage to know it's garbage.
Yeah.
And she like,
why don't you read this unemployment line then, bitch? Why don't you read a bankruptcy notice then, bitch? Like, listen, we all know I'm not into horror, but what sells, okay? What sells. Number one thing you got to say when you own a business like this is just be like, show me the numbers.
What's the numbers?
Let me see the analytics.
Yep. And so she's like, you wouldn't know a good book if it walked in your office and bit out your cold, dead heart.
Ooh.
Right? She's like, fuck you, bitch.
Boom.
And so she gets up. She's like scooting out of this leather chair because he's got that big ass chair.
Yeah.
And then she's sitting and she actually gets her foot caught on the area rug and she trips. She falls into the bookcase next to the desk.
Like the last girl in an 80s horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. So she trips and falls over a rug.
Yeah.
Great.
Does she
Rug has one job.
Does she drop her keys too? They slide across and she's reaching for her keys and her glasses at the same time?
No, but in order to try to like temper her fall, she grabs at the bookshelf to try to like pull
and this
up.
is New York, so it's not attached to the wall because they aren't using safe earthquake standards.
Actually it is. It's a input bookshelf. Come on now.
It's built
These
into
people
the
are
wall.
rich. This is an old Victorian. This is rich.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
got it.
the bookshelf is in there.
Okay.
But when she grabs the shelf, everything falls down, right? So like all the books, blah blah. And she sits up and she's humiliated. But of all the things that fell down, a small black box falls. And she turns it over and like kind of squeals with delight when she sees what's inside. She's like, wow. And she picks up, it's a little leather doll, like leather furry doll kind of thing. And she's like, I had one of these as a kid. It was my grandmother's. She brought it with her from Germany. They're supposed to ward off evil spirits, right? And the doll had a torso made of an animal pelt, gray-black fur, a devil face carved out of wood, and 2 horns made of polished bone.
Okay.
So it looked like a little crazy Krampus.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was picturing. I was picturing a little crazy Krampus.
A little crazy Kramps.
I was picturing one. It's definitely not one though that's like you would want to buy.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I bought you a couple of like cute little stuffed Krampuses that we have around the house right now.
Yeah, they're cute though.
They're cute. They're very cute. They're like squishmallows and stuff.
Yeah.
But like what you're describing to me is a nightmare.
A horror animal pelt made of bones.
That's possibly found in a trench during World War One.
World War II.
I know, but I'm saying it was made during World War
right.
One.
And the guy Blackstone is like warding off evil is one of its many unusual properties of the it's called Perchten. Perchten. But when I looked up how they say it in German, it's like Perchten.
Perchten. T. Okay. Perchten. Oh, you gotta say it like it's Perchten.
So
Achtung!
She says, we used to call my grandma's one Perky.
Okay, that's much nicer.
And I used to make him marry Skipper because Barbie had Ken, but Skipper had no one. So Skipper had to marry Perky.
Perky. Okay. That works.
And he's like, the Perchten are not toys, Blackwood says, ripping it out of her hands. He stuffed the doll back in a box and put it on a high shelf where she couldn't reach.
Yeah.
Because she's short. And she starts apologizing about the mess and, like, you know, her bad attitude and his bad attitude. Yeah. And he's just like, leave.
Yeah, then we know what I would have said. I mean, like, maybe your insurance company should talk to you about how you set up your rugs next time.
Yeah. Oops, my back hurts.
Bitch. Oh, my neck.
Ow, my neck.
And then it turns into that scene in Fight Club where the guy's just throwing himself through walls. You assaulted me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just like, leave. And she notices that he's like trembling. And she thinks at first that he's just so mad at her that he's like shaking with rage. But he also starts taking really sharp breaths. And he's like, my pills, my pills. And so she like runs past him to his desk and opens his desk drawers real quick. And she sees an orange bottle of nitroglycerin. She pops the bottle open and she gets one of the pills in his mouth. And she's like, do you need a glass of water? And he's like, don't leave me alone. And she's like, I won't. I'll wait till the ambulance gets here. And he's like, don't leave me alone with it. And his eyes are filled with terror. And it's real crazy. And that's the end of that chapter.
Okay. That's chapter 1?
That's chapter 1.
Okay.
The next day, Lucy decides she's going to go visit Mr. Blackwood at the hospital. And immediately I'm like, why?
Because that's, or else you wouldn't have a story.
There's no story. But at the same time, I'm not going to visit that guy in the hospital.
Yeah. I mean, I would have had if I'm just going to go visit him at the hospital, I would have written a passage of maybe he said something nice to you in the ambulance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like she had to be there or something. Like you have to have like some other exposition because he was a total dick to her.
Yeah.
Insulted everything about her.
Yeah.
Then nearly died in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to go visit him again?
No.
Like, no, you almost got what you want, which is for this man to be dead.
Whoa. So the next day she goes.
Where was his office? 6th Avenue in Manhattan?
No, I told you it was in Soho? No. I don't know. It's
I'm
not
making a joke.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a Luigi joke. Because it was on 6th Avenue.
So she goes, and as soon as she steps off the elevator
to
go to like his room, she's like, this is a fucking mistake. What am I doing here? And she decides to get back on she turns around. She just like spins and she's like, let me hit down. Let me not do it.
I need to go trim my bangs again.
I got to get out of here.
I'm wearing the wrong scrunchie.
So she presses down, and as she's waiting for the elevator to come back, there's a man kind of like next to her in the peripheral who puts out his cigarette on the ashtray that's on top of the trash can.
Yeah.
I wrote that down just so we could remember that we used to smoke in hospitals.
Yep.
And our trash cans had ashtrays
on the top.
on the top of them because you would just dump them.
I know the reason why some trash cans have a lid is solely to put an ashtray in them.
Yeah.
I know. It's so crazy. And they were those big brown ones, and they had like pebble, like gravel on the side. Remember? They'd have like gravel on the side of them.
Yeah.
God, we used to live at such a better time. And then what happened? Oh, did we get too woke? No. We just banned all the fun.
Yeah, banned the fun.
Like smoking in hospitals. I know people who actually got wrong medical answers to testing.
Yeah.
Because the smoke in the hospital was so thick that the laser that was supposed to be doing the analysis was picking up more actual tar and nicotine in the air than what it was supposed to be transmitted through.
Incredible. What a time.
Yeah. And that was the year 2003.
So, that guy that's standing in her peripheral, right? He's yelling into his cellular phone, size of a shoe. And he's like, I can't believe it. Yeah, Dad's dead. Asshole had a heart attack. What am I supposed to do? I haven't read a book since college. Stop crying, Mother. We got to focus here. And so she turns because she's like, oh, I think I know that must be his son. And so she decides to follow him down the hall so she can give him condolences.
Yeah.
And the whole time
Dad's dead. I'm just picturing this guy screaming into a shoebox-sized phone.
Uh-huh.
Come on, Mom. Dad's dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, too. Because back in the day, anyone talking on a cell phone was an asshole.
Yep.
Now you have to have it on speaker.
And that if you're walking around talking with it on speaker,
Where you're yapping
in
up.
public, oh no.
Yeah.
The guy that's on the phone, he sounds like a real asshole from like the outside perspective.
It's the 80s and he has a cell phone.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Can't you handle the funeral, Mom? I have a lot on my plate right now."
Is it cocaine? I have a lot of cocaine on my plate right now, Ma.
So after he hangs up the phone, she's like, "Mr. Blackwood, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for your loss." And he thinks that she's like a journalist or paparazzi. And is like, "Get out of here." And she's like, no, my name's Lucy Meyer. I'm a book editor. I was at your father's office when he took ill. And his name's Digby. Digby. Digby.
This guy's name is Digby?
Digby.
What was the publishing company again? Blackwood?
Blackwood and Patterson.
Okay, Blackwood. Who wears Patterson?
I cannot tell you. It drove me nuts the whole time.
That's
don't know who Patterson is.
Maybe Patterson died or got forced out of the company
Must
a long time.
I don't.
Because the thing, Blackwood and Patterson, like Blackwood as a also perfect horror publishing company name. Just call it Blackwood. A new book from Blackwood.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, Digby, he's like, "Oh yeah, you're the one that was interviewing with him right before he had the heart attack." And
why am I thinking Digby? What am I thinking
she
Digby
is
from?
like, "Yeah, we had like a nice chat." And he's like, "A nice chat? That doesn't sound like my dad." And she's like, "Well, we talked about the books I had edited and they're pretty popular." And he's like, "What kind of books?" And she tells him. And he's like, "My dad liked to break people, but you don't seem broken." And there was some weird, intense eye contact. And she thought about how like this guy is like kind of handsome if it wasn't for the bags under his eyes and the dried blood under his left nostril.
Okay.
From all the cocaine.
Cocaine. He had a lot on his plate.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Also, he smells a lot like he puts way too much Calvin Klein Obsession cologne on. She says that repeatedly.
She says repeatedly Calvin Klein Obsession.
Yeah, Calvin Klein Obsession cologne.
Okay. Was that a very popular cologne in the 80s?
It's incredibly popular.
This starts to feel a little bit like, and then he pulled out his Sony Walkman. Remember those? That's sometimes
that
they do that.
very much happened. There is a Walkman situation in this
Yeah,
book.
no, but I'm saying though, it's like, but they have to say like the specific brand that is like the iconic 80s version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then he went to his RCA television and turned the knob. You know what I like? It's just like, we're really trying to remind you it's the 80s. The other thing is with horror in general, I know a lot of it, much like Stranger Things, is being set in the 80s now.
Yeah.
So there's less technology, so we don't have answers as easy. Because again, if we're like, oh yeah, it's a Perk 10 doll. Oh, Siri, what's a Perk 10 doll? Done. You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's there's a
So
thing
you're saying
about
Siri ruined horror books?
I'm saying Siri is listening to me talk right now.
Oh my
apparently.
God, the phone just turned on.
The phone just turned on. I did not mean for that.
See?
I thought I had that turned off.
That's why I don't keep Siri on my phone. I deleted that bitch.
Yeah.
So he's like,
Also, real quick.
yeah,
It's just because I keep thinking about it. It's a Perk 10.
Perkton.
A Perk 10.
Yeah.
It's a Percocet 10.
Yeah, it's perks.
The man's like, my perks.
My perks.
I dropped my perk doll. What if he just had a little doll made out of Percocet?
Well, that's.
And then he wouldn't be working books. He'd be working in roofing.
As a roofing joke.
Yep. Maybe carpentry.
And she's like, he's like, how was the interview, blah, blah. And she's like, it was brutal. He was so awful and mean. And he didn't take me seriously because he didn't think that the books that I edited were good enough because they're all about werewolves and vampires and stuff. And
sexy werewolves and vampires.
And he's like, listen, I'll hire you if you can find me the next Stephen King. This company, I need to find the next big thing. And if you can find me the next big Stephen King, I will, give you a full salary, blah, blah. And so they have a deal that happens in the hospital where her job is to find the next Stephen King book by the end of the year. So she has 30 days.
Okay.
To find a really good book.
That's right. You said it's very early December.
Yeah.
It's like literally like right now.
Yeah, right now.
Wait, that does sound like a cokehead son's idea though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you listen, you can figure it out by New Year's, you got it. New Year's though at midnight. When that ball drops, so does your chances.
And he says, we'll just pay you, I don't know, whatever you make at your current job plus 10%. Just let the payroll director know. I'll introduce you to the staff on Monday. You have until the end of the month. And she's panicking because usually it takes 18 months to find these type of like contracts and books and do all the research.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's like, I need a job. So she's like, I'll see you at 9 a.m.
Yeah, what's the worst thing that happens?
Actually, he says, quote, I'll see you at 9 a.m. sharp or whenever publishing starts. So he's going to be a great boss.
Yeah. I feel like Digby the Nepo baby. I want to write it down. Digby, and I'm going to put a little dash. Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Nepo baby. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Digby is he important for the rest of the book?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Digby the Nepo baby.
It does annoy me sometimes when we do book clubs and I write somebody's name down and then they're never brought up again.
Yeah.
So damn it.
Damn, I'm sorry that you were wasting brain space.
No, it's ink.
So the Monday comes. It's our first day. Also, I forgot she negotiated in that moment to be a senior editor, not just regular editor.
Good for her.
And he also was just like, I don't know what that difference is. Fine. And so she just got this senior editor job.
Every time I've ever gotten a title.
Yeah.
It's the only way I've ever gotten a title.
Exactly.
It's just lying to somebody who has no idea and I'm being like,
yeah.
I looked it up on LinkedIn. It's more important if I have director in front of it.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, I'm a senior editor. So she's getting dressed in dark.
I was a facilities director. That meant I was a janitor.
Yeah, change light bulbs.
But you know what? Putting facilities director on a resume.
Boom, director.
Also, real quick.
Hey, everybody listening, if you want to get a promotion, just add director to the end of something.
Hey, listen, to everyone listening, just lie.
Yeah, just lie.
Lie on everything.
Who cares?
Unless, listen, if there's an actual technical certification that you need to have,
Maybe,
don't lie about that.
Maybe get that.
You know what I mean? But for the most part, if it's just like a job where your job is answering email, just lie.
Oh, yeah. Fuck that. Who
Yeah,
cares?
it doesn't matter. Just fucking lie. And then here's the other thing I'm going to tell you real quick about just the business world because they couldn't do this in the 80s.
Yep.
Couldn't do this in the 80s. Google it.
It's true. Watch a
Just
YouTube video.
Just Google it and watch a YouTube video and then feel like, and also just have confidence with whatever it is you're saying. Even if you're wrong, they won't say it in front of you in the meeting.
Nobody will know.
You'll know immediately the type of personality. If I'm in the room and I know you're lying, I might call you on it, but Mrs. P wouldn't.
No.
Mrs. P like, get that bag.
Yeah.
We're all just here. We're all just trying to get through the week.
I've lied my way into quite a few jobs.
Listen, so many.
Getting out of the restaurant industry was a couple lies deep.
I just want to point. Listen, okay. I feel like some of y'all are sitting there listening to this with your imposter syndrome at your job, debating whether or not to ask your boss for a raise or whether or not you should apply for that new job.
Yeah.
I just want to throw this out there. I want you to pull up on your computer that you're working on right now, or on your phone that you're listening to us on, and I just want you to look at the resumes of everyone who is currently about to join the Trump administration. Why the fuck do you have imposter syndrome? You're not only are you smarter than them, you're a better person.
Yeah.
Listen, we're pivoting right now from a book club episode. This is now self-help. You are going to actualize yourself right now. You are going to you're going to grab the horns of capitalism and you're going to ride that bear right up Wall Street until you yourself have millions of dollars. And what are you going to do with those millions of dollars? I don't give a shit. Whatever you want. You want to help people?
Invest in your community.
Whatever. Invest in your community. Get fucking surgery. I don't give a fuck. All right? But I feel it. I can feel it coming through right now, the recording on the opposite end of this. That you yourself are feeling that you cannot lie and call yourself a senior editor. You can, and you should. And in fact, somebody with less experience than you is going to step in and they're going to get a role that is above yours.
Yeah, on purpose.
And the only reason why is because they know somebody who else works at the company, or they happen to be there while somebody with your boss knew exactly how to pour a mixed drink at the right time.
Google a company that went out of business.
Use
that name as a reference.
Yep.
Make up a title. Get your best friend's phone number on there as your director.
Yeah.
Bing, bang, boom. You used to do job A, B, Z.
Yes.
And they're going to be your reference. And they can't check because that company went out of business. HR doesn't exist anymore.
And also,
let's fucking go, dude.
Also, going to sprinkle in there. I'm not going to give you the promo code, but you can look into it. You can look into certain companies, like ones that I partnered with, like Delete Me, and you can have some of your background information removed from some of these fucking companies.
Yeah, we're not going to do ad.
I'm not going to do a full ad in there, but just letting you know this is all fucking possible.
Let's get back to the book.
Because back home, real quick. No, wait. Because back in the 80s, we didn't have this much goddamn paperwork. People used to just move.
Yeah.
When they fucked up in a town, they could move. Now it follows you around the world.
Did we even have credit reports at this point?
They didn't show up until 1987.
See, 1 year, this person is living in a life without a credit report.
Yes.
Ugh, the goals.
She has bangs and a scrunchie.
Yeah, and leggings.
And no credit report.
Living. Monday comes. She's wearing her best little outfit. She's wearing all dark colors because she's like, everybody's going to be in mourning, so I don't want to be too much. Yeah. She doesn't Aquanet up her bangs. She wears them kind of down, so she's kind of like a little morose, right? And she looks in the mirror as she's leaving, and she looks really fucking tired because she didn't sleep a wink. She was up all night making her grandmother's stollen, which is a fruitcake. She didn't want to go to the all-staff meeting empty-handed. She wanted to make a good impression.
So she brings fruitcake?
So she brought a fruitcake.
Which, like, famously in the 80s, people used to make fun of.
Yeah.
It's just like,
But it's also a Christmas thing.
No, I understand.
And a German Christmas thing.
I've never actually had fruitcake because so many, like Pee-wee's Playhouse, there was a Muppets Christmas special, all these different things used to talk so much shit on fruitcake.
Yeah.
And we just didn't have it in my family, so I just always assume.
I've had it. It's pretty good. It's
just cake with the fruits in it, right?
Yeah, sometimes they're candied fruits, like the candied cherries or oranges.
I don't like that.
Sometimes there's raisins. It really depends. It just tastes
Stop
like...
putting raisins in stuff.
People like raisins, you
Well,
know?
stop putting it in stuff. I like raisins.
I think the reason that people used to talk shit is ageism, because older people like fruitcake, and they were like, old people are lame. That's like very 80s, you know?
Yeah, no, that's very true. We were twisting in the worlds of the Pepsi generation.
Yeah. We're like, old people don't get it. They're not cool. And I'm like, I mean, it's just cake with fruit in it. It's
but
not that
remember,
bad.
this is also during a time when the boomers were in their 30s and slowly starting to take over the world, so they were turning their back on all old traditions.
Let me pull up every ladder I can find.
Yep.
So she wanted to make a good impression on the editor-in-chief. Her name is Mary Beth Wilderson. However, everyone in the industry, the publishing industry, calls her the Raven because she has a reputation for being one of the hardest-nosed editors in the business.
The Raven.
The Raven.
Okay.
The idea to make the traditional Stalin bread had popped into her head after she saw the Perkted in Mr. Blackwood's office. So, like, she just thought about her grandma, and she had all these nice warm feelings. And she's like, you know what? This feels kismet. I'm going to make this cake because that's what my grandma used to do. However, she had forgotten that this cake is a multi-day recipe, and she attempted to cram it all into one day. And so by the time she pulled the loaf out of the oven, it was 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So she's going into her first day, no sleep, with a cake.
That might not be good.
That might not be good. Might not be set properly. She's walking to the Blackwood Publishing building.
You know what it sounds like to me?
What?
It sounds like she should have listened to an episode of Vibing Out with the Food Moron, which you can hear on Friday, December 20th. It won't be about fruitcakes, but it will be about a holiday-themed thing. And why you need to take the time.
Yeah, take time.
Why you need to take
Sometimes
the
you
time,
gotta take time
and actually follow the instructions.
Yeah, even if some of the instructions aren't there, but I'm going to talk to you about that later.
Yeah.
So she gets there. She gets introduced to the front receptionist again. This time the lady's giving her a tour of the building, right?
Yeah.
Because she's new hire. And they stop at the break room. She puts the fruitcake in the fridge. And then they go down the hall where there's a door covered in comics. And the reception is like, this is the art department. If this door is closed, it means Stanley doesn't want to be disturbed. Leave him alone. Eventually they make it to the door of her new office, which is old and smelly and just has the basics like a desk, a chair, a bookshelf, the end.
Yeah.
Her office has a nice view of the park across the street where all of the homeless people are. And she turns to ask Gail where the ladies' room is. Her name's Gail, where the ladies' room is, but she's gone.
Yeah.
So she decides she's going to find out where the company keeps their bathroom and their submissions. And so she can get started working. And I think this is where we take a break.
That's a good place to take a break. I will say, just real quick for everybody out there who's a little bit younger, 1986 in New York was a very different time.
Yeah.
So when she's saying about like looking out at the park and then just like seeing all the homeless people and all that different stuff, this is the height of Reagan's America. Mm-hmm. This is also during a time of big transition for all of the major urban areas. You had a lot of white flight in the late 60s and the 70s where everyone moved to the suburbs and the city centers were abandoned. Mm-hmm. Especially with New York, you don't see the kind of revitalization in New York until the late 90s under Giuliani.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of changes in that. If you want a good movie, actually, I always like to point to of to be like what the 80s were like, actually, is Batteries Not Included.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say Batteries Not Included, one of my favorite
but just
movies
like
of all
those
time.
rundown type of buildings and all those different things. But like, when I think of New York in the 80s, at
Scrooged.
least
with Bill
well,
Murray.
there's that. That's the Wall Street side
Yeah.
of it. But there's another side of it of like barrel fires where they have a big metal barrel with holes poked in it and just guys just standing over it with their hands.
Yeah.
That they
Hoovervilles.
The Hoovervilles are the 30s.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like the same idea.
Yeah, it's kind of the same idea.
It was in New York parks.
Yeah, but there's that. But it's also 1986 too, which is also the beginning of the crack epidemic.
Yeah.
So there's like a little bit of all this stuff being sprinkled in right there.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit of crack.
Just a little.
So with that,
Let's take a break.
now we remind you about a little bit of crack. If you're on Patreon, you're not going to hear anything. But if you aren't, we're going to tell you about one of our sponsors. If you need a diamond for your partner this Christmas, check out Blue Nile. Blue Nile is the original online jeweler since 1999. Check out BlueNile.com to create the biggest piece you can imagine at a price that won't break the bank. Their diamond price guarantee means they'll meet or beat a competitor's price on a similar diamond. And with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee, you'll get guaranteed free shipping and returns and guaranteed service and repairs for life. Plus, every order is insured and arrives in a box that won't spoil the surprise. You've got nothing to lose. Right now, go to BlueNile.com and press in code TABS, that's T-A-B-S, for $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's $50 off with code TABS at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
So we're back with crack. No, I'm just kidding. So she goes to this, walking down the hall, and she sees an office with some guys in it. She goes in, she introduces herself to some guy. His name's Joe. They call him Sloppy Joe. We learn, this is very funny, we learned that he left a comma out of a novel in 1963, and that's why he gets called Sloppy Joe, because he made one mistake.
That sounds about right. I know exactly the type of person this is. He's made one mistake his entire life. That's another thing. We're gonna use this whole episode for life advice. Make mistakes regularly.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You can apologize for them, fine, whatever. But like, sprinkle out a few, because if you're spotless and you make one mistake, you're defined by that one mistake.
Yeah, you make a lot of mistakes. People are just like, she's just who she is, man.
I'm looking around right now. When you look at somebody like our incoming president, and you're looking around, you're like, how does he survive all these scandals, all these horrible things? I'll tell you how. There's too many of them. Nobody can pick one.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's the reason why you'll get somebody.
So I'm trying to make too many mistakes.
Yep, for too many tabs. Too many tabs, too many mistakes.
So there's this thing in publishing called a slush pile. A slush pile is when people just kind of cold call, but with books and manuscripts. Yeah. They just send in their manuscript to a publisher, and they hope that someone reads it. Yeah. And usually interns end up doing that, reading through, seeing if anything's good. Yeah. And so
that's how you get a lot of manifestos.
Yeah. So this
was only 262 words.
She's like, hey, Joe, number one, where's the bathroom? Number two, where is the slush pile? Because she needs to find a manuscript in 30 days or less. Yeah. So she wants to get down to wherever it is, right? And so he's like, oh, it's the slush pile's in the basement, but nobody reads those. And I don't think anybody's been down there since we had an intern, and that was so long ago. But they're piling up in the basement. And he's like, if you go down there, bring a flashlight, because it's real spooky down there. Ooh, spooky. And so she, finds the bathroom, and then she goes downstairs. She heads down the stairs, because again, everything is stairs based until you get to the first floor, and then there's like a service elevator, but it's broken, so she has to take another set of stairs. Gotcha. So she goes down there. The stairs are wonky, almost broken, super dark and weird. There's like one overhead light with a little change thing, the one. Yeah, I know that one. And so she gets. We have it in our basement. Yeah, so she gets down there.
Where I'm looking for Jill Stein
or Stanley Tucci. And so she turns a little light on. And the whole room is kind of filled with these 10 by 10 cages, kind of like when you live in an apartment complex and you get those little storage. Yeah. Those things. Yeah. So the whole basement is full of those cages that have like the chain link fences on each side. Yeah. And they're all brimming from floor to ceiling with manuscripts. They're full stocked. And so
some of them have to be rotted.
Yeah, moldy, gross, full of bugs.
Yeah, just
water.
Ugh. I bet.
City basement water.
Honestly, that's also one of those situations too where you walk in there, you immediately have to poop.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Just like when you walk into Borders. You're like, I gotta poop. I gotta poop.
Did you say Borders?
Sorry, Barnes & Noble.
I was like, Borders?
Yeah. Listen, I work
there. Library's got a nice bathroom.
You know what's weird is I don't ever get that in the library.
Really?
Library, I don't get it. But when I walk into Barnes & Noble, it's always like within 10 minutes of being in Barnes & Noble, I'm like, I gotta shit. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the mix of the coffee.
You gotta go to that Marshall's Home Goods or a bookstore. Yeah. You're gonna get some stuff moving.
Well, you know what's funny? It's because I think Barnes & Noble, the one by us, they put you have to go through the kids section to get to the bathroom. Yeah. And I always feel so bad because I'm just tooting up a kids section. Yeah. I'm just like walking through and I'm just like,
I'm just stink up this whole side of the building.
I just crop dusted so many Legos just trying to get to the poop town.
So she walks into one of the cages to start digging through manuscripts. Yeah. And as soon as she lets the door swing closed, it like slams behind her sharply, like it's springed.
Yeah.
She starts reading through and finds a few horror manuscripts, and she puts them aside. And she quickly realizes she has like a decent sized pile, but she's not gonna be able to carry them up the rickety steps.
Yeah.
So she's like, I guess I'm just gonna grab the ones I can carry and head to the stairs, right? And as she's like turning around in the cage, the lights go out in the basement. And she didn't bring a flashlight like Sloppy Joe told her.
Gotta listen to Sloppy Joe.
When Sloppy Joe tells you to do something, you do it. You take a suggestion. So she yells and she's like, I'm down here, right? No response. She's like, please turn the lights back on. No response. And she's like, oh, they must be like hazing me. Like they know I'm down here. They're trying to scare the new girl. Blah, blah, blah. And so her eyes adjust to the darkness because there's always like a little window.
Bit of light.
There's a window from the basement to the outside to the sidewalk. So there's a little bit of light.
Yeah. And it has those weird like bar room glass.
Yeah.
Because it's I know the type.
So she's like calming herself down by counting backwards and letting her eyes adjust. And she's trying to open the cage door, but it's stuck. It won't open. And the thing is, she's like feeling around and there's no lock. Like there's no reason it should be stuck. There's no lock. There's no latch, nothing. And as she's starting to panic a little because she can't get out of the cage. She's in the dark and she starts hearing a whispering voice. And it sounds like it's kind of like taking up the whole room. And it's just saying one word, hunger.
Hunger.
She just keeps hearing the word hunger. And so she starts like kind of yelling out because she thinks there's someone at the top of the stairs. She turned the light out. And she's like, are you hungry? I don't understand. Who's hungry? And then she hears the sound of the door being ripped off the cage right next to her. So the other cage, the wooden cage door just gets ripped off and flies across the room. And to her horror, there's a glowing white figure hovering midair in the cage next to her, right? And she screams so loud. And in that moment where she screams so loud, the lights come back on. And she like panics and she kicks the door and the cage door splinters and she falls forward. And as she's laying on the ground, she looks over where that ghost was. And it's actually just like a Halloween ghost that you would put in your front yard. Like one of those. It's just like on a table kind of. So it's like propped up.
Yeah.
But it's just a Halloween decoration that they have.
Yeah.
And so it scared her. And Digby.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Time out. Because again, this is why you set it in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because if it was set today, hold on, flashlight.
Yeah.
You just hold up your phone and just go flashlight.
Yeah.
Or you just push the button. Like I always have a flashlight. The other day I was doing something in our basement.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't have my phone with me because I left it upstairs because I was using the flashlight upstairs to look at something.
There you go.
Before to go back down to the basement to get to the other side.
Yeah.
And I went down there. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, this is the one time in my life I haven't had a flashlight on me.
Yeah.
But now, like, everyone...
We carry the internet and flashlights and cameras with us. It's insane.
We all are just marching around with the answer to every horror movie.
Yeah. So Digby's coming down the stairs and, like, around... And he's like on his phone again. He's like, listen, I got to call you back. And he looks at Lucy and the broken door and the paper everywhere. And he's like, so how's your first day going? Right. We find out that Digby fired Agnes. That was the secretary for his dad. And Lucy is shocked because she seemed like the kind of lady who like knew everything about a company. So like you wouldn't get rid of her because she knows where all the bodies are.
Not
buried.
immediately.
No. And Digby saw the look on her face of like, why would you fire her? And he's like, don't worry. My father set her up for life. She'll live out the rest of her life in a palatial Massapequa estate. Massapequa estate. Living far better than the rest of us. And she's like, okay, that's a weird thing to say. So she just kind of like nods and is like,
because my dad was having an affair with her.
Yeah, basically. And so she runs upstairs, she gets outstairs, and she sees some ladies entering the conference room. Mm-hmm. And she checks her watch, and it's 11 on the dot, and she needs to get to that all-staff meeting where she's going to get introduced to everybody. And so because she realizes she was in the basement for an hour, and she doesn't realize like how that was a whole hour she was down there.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have time to go get the fruitcake out of the fridge. Okay, and this is a big problem. But so she heads over to the conference room, and at the head of the table is this striking woman who has a blonde buzz cut. It's the Raven. Yeah, the boss.
Yeah.
Boss lady, editor-in-chief. And she's looking around at the staff, and they're definitely a cast of characters. Like, the way they're described is very, like, Tim Burton-y. Like, they're all very detailed characters, the way they look and dress.
I picture there's a Deep Space Nine episode where they are it's set in the 60s.
Yeah.
Where they're working for a sci-fi magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of picturing that.
Yeah.
That's kind of where like everyone has their different thing. And like,
Yeah.
oh, this one over here does sci-fi. This one over here does this. And that's the art guy. And this is this thing. And so very, much that cast of characters.
So everyone in the room is super quiet. And they're all just staring at her.
Yeah.
Because they're like, who the fuck are you? They don't know that like.
Our boss died.
Yeah, our boss died and you showed up. And who hired you? The son, the Nepo baby?
Yeah.
He didn't tell us. Did you interview? Like, whatever. And so they're all staring at her. And so she's just like, hi, I'm Lucy. And somebody from across the room is like, hey, you got a spider in your hair. And so she kind of like flips her hair over. And she has like a big daddy long leg that was in her hair from the basement.
Yeah. I do horror books. She's covered in spiders. That's very funny.
On brand.
Yeah.
So...
I opened my mouth and all my teeth fell out.
Whoa, that's a bad dream.
Yeah.
So while she's like, her hair flipped over to get rid of the spider out, right? She sees a pencil on the floor, a mechanical pencil. So
Yeah.
she grabs it and she's like, didn't someone drop this? And the man sitting next to her snatched it out of her hand without saying anything. And she's like, okay then. Anyway, my name is Lucy and I'm the new senior editor. And everyone glances nervously from her to the Raven.
Yeah.
And they're like, because we all know the Raven had nothing to do about this, right? So she's like, how did this bitch get senior editor? Who is she?
Yeah.
And so they're like, we're going to go around the room and introduce everybody. Because it's like a welcome meeting. Hate that.
Yeah.
What's one fun fact about you type of shit?
Ugh, icebreakers.
Icebreakers. So they all go around and she realizes.
My fun fact is I hate icebreakers.
If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be?
Fox.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because you're sneaky.
No, because I like to jump at things like this. Boop. That's why. No, I always just say fox just because of the orange.
Yeah.
And that's just the easy one. And then people go, oh, because he's sly. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, not really. I'm really not that sly. If
I
I could
mean,
be, I mean, I would say, now I gotta really think
No,
about it.
don't think about it. We gotta keep going.
Okay. But would I be a bird?
You would be a bird. You love birds.
I do like
You'd
birds.
You'd be a tufty boy.
I would be a tufty boy. A titmouse?
A titmouse.
That's just fun to say.
So
Get cut up by a propeller.
as they go around the room, she realizes she's the only person with a senior title. Right? So like she jumped ahead of everybody in the room other than the editor-in-chief.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So the guy next to her who grabbed the pencil, his name is Stanley. He's the art director.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And
Art guys are weird.
yeah.
They can be definitely weird because they're just like looking around. Everyone else just shows up and they give them like, I need this by tomorrow. It's like, you need a fucking what?
Yeah. So this actually is exactly what happens. They're passing around. They're all having a discussion about one of the books that's going out.
Yeah.
And Stanley has prepared some art for it for the cover. And it's going around. They're all talking about all the editors, and the boss, the Raven's like, Lucy, what do you think? In like a really snotty tone. And she looks at it and she's like, oh, like I think like this maybe like it's a picture of a wheelbarrow, and she's like maybe like some dirt on it so it looks like it's been used, or like a skull in the dirt in the wheelbarrow because it's a book about like murder or something. And they're like, Stanley, go get this done. Blah, blah. And like they send Stanley out to go make the adjustments, right? Because like they all kind of like, no, that's actually kind of a good idea. And like Raven's pissed clearly that it is like a really good idea.
But also it's one of those things, again, it's that they have such terrible timelines to get shit like this done. I've been thinking actually, ever since I joined Blue Sky, I actually found a bunch of like sci-fi and fantasy artists who did books in the 80s. Oh. And like, you always forget because you see like the novels, and again, it would seem as paperbacks.
Yeah.
These like beautiful art on them, but like these are like 4x8 massive hand paintings.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, I did this thing, and I want some book. They pay me like $50. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
The fuck? I mean, we have the Wyeth Museum near us, where it's again for like Treasure Island.
Yep.
The paintings are massive, and they had to be so that way they could reprint them.
Mm-hmm.
That was how you could match the pixelation. It's so weird. So yeah, when I said that they're weird, I don't mean that they're weird because of I just mean like because of compared to the timelines everyone else is dealing
we
with.
respect
and they think
art,
it's
and we
around.
want more artists to get paid for their work.
Yes, and that's why we think that AI should be shot out of a cannon.
I fucking hate AI. So we go to the next chapter. Next chapter opens.
Yes.
Guess where we are? At the shopping mall under the World Trade Center.
Oh no! Whoa! No!
Oopsie daisy.
Whoa! That'll be a bad place in about 15 years.
It's super Christmassy down there. She isn't there to shop though. She's going to a bookstore to meet one of her friends who's an author of books from her previous job. His name is Fabian Nightingale.
Do I need to write this down?
Yes. Fabian Nightingale. It's a great name, honestly.
It is a great name, but it's very on the nose.
On the nose. She goes to see him. He's having a book signing at the bookstore down there. It's total bust.
I've never met anyone with the last name Nightingale. I just want to throw that out there. I've heard of people with the last name Nightingale.
Yeah.
I've never met one, and I feel like I've been cheated.
I think it's a last name you have to choose. You have to pay to have that last name so you can change it to that.
You think so?
Yeah.
What if I changed my last name to Nightingale?
Then, okay.
Then you'd be Mrs. Nightingale?
That'd be crazy.
I know. I feel pretentious already.
Yeah. So
We'd have a baby. Having our son's last name be Nightingale, I'd be like, what the fuck?
we don't want him to get bullied that bad. No.
No, but his first name would be Fabian.
Oh, we're going full.
Oh,
So,
listen, I'm going full, just
Fabian
little,
Nightingale.
full Fabian Nightingale.
So she tells him about her new job, and he's like, oh, you got to be careful. I heard that guy that runs that place, Xavier, is a bit too flirty with the gals that work there. And there's a lot of weird rumors about what happens in that building.
I'm senior editor.
And we find out in this whole thing that Fabian is British, and he's very flamboyant. And they hang out, and he gives her he's like, hey, can I give you a copy of my new manuscript that I'm working on to read? And she's like, yeah. He's like, it's gonna be my masterpiece. Anyway, they end up getting really drunk together on absinthe.
Okay.
Really drunk.
Okay. But it's the 80s, so it's not good absinthe.
And so the next day she's heading back to work on the Staten Island ferry. Hungover as fuck.
Wait, so she lives in Staten Island?
Yeah, and she's commuting.
She got hammered under the World Trade Center and then got on a ferry to go to Staten Island?
Yeah, she's in her 20s, baby. You can do that when you're young.
By the way, I just really want to point out, if she's in her 20s, she is a boomer.
Yeah.
This is a young boomer.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing we want to keep in mind. Everything's set in the 80s. When you're seeing somebody who's in like their 20s or 30s and it's set in the 80s, you're looking at a boomer.
Yep.
But they're just like me. Are they, or are they a boomer?
Gift this podcast to a boomer you know.
Yeah.
She's happy that she's going into work with. She's not happy to go to work today because she's at a hungover, but she knows that today's the Christmas party, so it won't be that bad.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows on the day of the holiday party at work, nothing gets done.
Nothing.
You don't get anything done. I'm not answering one email or one phone call.
Yeah.
Today's the Christmas party. It starts at 2 p.m. I'm not doing shit till then.
Yeah.
So she's like, whatever. She gets to her office and the door is open to crack. And she's like, I definitely locked my door last night.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes inside and there's a young man named Cal, C-A-L, and he's her new intern. And he's like this super preppy young guy, and he's got his feet up on her desk. And she admonishes him immediately, and she's like, this isn't a dorm room. Get your feet off my desk. And she's like, how long have you been here? And he's like, I've been here for like an hour. I was just reading through some books on your shelves. And she looks at him, and she looks at the pile of manuscripts on her desk, and she's like, why wouldn't you read those? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you're a job or you're an intern, why would you read my books? You read the manuscripts. That's your job.
Yeah.
But so immediately she's just kind of like, ugh, like little bit of a dummy.
Hates him.
Little dummy.
Yeah. But is he handsome?
You know what? I don't remember if he's handsome or not. I didn't write it down, so he must not have been.
Okay.
And so she's like, listen, you got to start reading through these manuscripts, and then once we get through some of these together, I'll have you go down the basement to bring more up. She's like, I'm delegating that task.
Yeah.
And she turns around to like do something, and she turns back, and his feet are back up on her desk while he's reading a manuscript. And so she rolls up a manuscript and she swats it at his leg and hits him on the shin, and he like yelps. And she's like, oh, stop being a baby. It's not like I broke it, but if you do it again, I might. Right. And we find out that Digby had hired this guy from the film program at City College. And so he isn't even a book kid. Like, he's not a guy who wants to be in publishing. He's just a guy who needs an internship.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't.
A Nepo baby's Nepo baby.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then she's sitting there talking.
This business is going to last a long time.
He's super good at business.
Yeah.
So they're sitting there, and all of a sudden she smells something really gross. And she looks on the floor, and she had stepped in a pile of poop that was on the floor in her office. There's poop in the floor.
Why is there poop on the floor?
I don't know. So she goes to the bathroom to clean the poop off her shoe. And while she's in the bathroom, the Raven, the boss lady, comes in, looks at her, gives her a dirty look, goes into one of the stalls, closes the door, lights a spliff, and just starts smoking pot with the door closed.
Fuck yeah.
I was like, how are you framing this lady as the bad guy?
Raven is cool.
Raven is the coolest.
Yeah.
So we find out that Raven's talking to her through the door. Like, what are you doing? Oh, you got shit on your shoes? blah, like whatever.
Yeah.
But the whole time she's just in the door, like, so she's not sharing this.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm taking a moment for myself before this fucking
ripping
Christmas
a
party.
fucking joint. Yeah. Okay.
And
Supposed to go on a walk with your cousin for that,
no,
baby.
dude, she said, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Like, she could do it in her office.
True.
Like, why could
just smoke
she's just stunting on this girl.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna do some narcotics in front of you in 1986, so I can go to prison for 10 years for this.
but we do find out that the Raven didn't know that Rigby hired a new intern. So she's again, Lisa's like, why are you hiring but not telling me? The editor-in-chief is supposed to be privy to all of this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So she's pissed immediately. She finds out.
Yeah.
Next chapter, baby. It's the office Christmas party.
Bam, bam,
Let's
bam,
fucking
bam.
go. Boo-boo.
Let's photocopy our butts.
Yeah, talking about Scrooge, one of the
Yep.
best Christmas movies of all time.
Yep.
And so she goes to the, what's it called, where we eat our lunch, the little
Cafeteria.
the cafeteria area, to get the
Break
fruitcake
room.
out of the fridge.
Yeah.
She's going to the break room, and she opens the fridge to get the fruitcake. It's gone. Somebody stole her fruitcake, and she's like, I'm going to bring it to this party, but someone stole it. Oh wait, I forgot to tell you something.
The Raven got high and ate the cake.
No, maybe, but no. When they had that all staff meeting,
Yeah.
they like made an announcement that was like, oh, don't forget to put the gifts under the tree for the Secret Santa. And Lucy raised her hand and was like, hey, like, did you already like pick out names? And they're like, yeah, we picked them out 2 weeks ago and your name wasn't on the list. And then one of the ladies was like, actually, there is a gift under the tree that says Lucy on it. And she was like, wait, what? So like there is a gift for her under the tree that nobody knows where it came from.
Yeah.
And she assumes is a gag gift. Because again, the lights in the basement, people are like leaving
Yeah,
poop
yeah.
in her office. So she's like, these people are fucking with me. It's probably some fucked up shit. So the party starts, and it's basically like any office party where you don't know anyone. She's like in the corner to no one to talk to. Nobody wants to talk to her.
Yeah.
They're all getting a little drunk though. They're getting seriously 80s in the office drunk, and they go around the whole room and they're doing the Secret Santa, and she's last. They're like, you have to be last because you're the newest person.
Yeah.
Right. And also we don't know who give you a gift. But she opens. Digby, by the way, is sitting with her because she's the only person that she knows. And also the whole entire staff, it doesn't show up till the end, but the whole staff thinks she's sleeping with him.
Yeah.
Because how else did she get this job?
That's what I would assume. I'm just like, listen. I would have just always assumed that if just like this person shows up
Yeah.
with the boss's nepo son,
Yeah.
I would assume maybe not just sleeping, but just like that there's some sort of relationship there.
Yeah.
There's something extracurricular.
Yeah. How did you guys become fast friends?
I would assume they were either Coke buddies or that they were cuddle buddies. Or that she's blackmailing him. That's another option.
Should have done that one. So, what am I saying? So he's sitting next to her, and they're like, "Oh, it's your turn." And she opens this big box. Well, not too big, but it's a green and wrap with a big bow outside. And she opens it up, and she looks inside, and there's the Parakeet doll in there in the box from Mr. Blackwell's office. And Digby, who's sitting next to her, is looking inside the box, and he's like, what is that thing? Like, the fuck is that? And she was like, don't you recognize it? It was your father's.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have never seen that thing before. That looks fucking gross.
Yeah.
And everyone in the room is staring at her. Like, what the fuck is in there? And she's like, oh, it's just an empty box, you guys. Nice prank. Next time Santa should give me at least some coal, right? Because she doesn't even want to give them the thrill of having, like, bullied her.
Yeah.
So she just says the box is empty, right?
That's good. That's smart.
And there's an awkward laugh, and everybody just goes back to drinking because nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
And Lucy's like, this is so high school. Who the fuck is trying to bully me? Why are they giving me this weird doll?
Yeah. Now you got 3 hours to get hammered.
Yeah. But the thing is, she's like, maybe this little dude can ward off these bad spirits that are trying to bully me.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's like, she starts like talking to the doll. She's like, oh, you'll help me out, little Perky. Because she leaves. She decides to name it Perky. She goes to her office with it because she wants to get away from these people.
Yeah. She already had one named Perky, though.
I know, she just names it Perky again.
I know.
There's a whole thing about how like every time she has a pet, she just names it the same thing.
Oh, really?
Like she's had like 7 hamsters and they all have the same name.
Okay, I get that. I do get that solely because we're bad at titles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for asking for titles when you want a promotion or a raise. Get that title, baby.
Get that title, baby.
So she's in her office and she like squeezes the doll's tummy a little bit.
Yeah.
And it crunches super weird, like it's full of crunchy bugs or something.
Ew.
And so it freaks her out and she drops it. And then she picks it back up and she touches the stomach again and it's squishy, like it's full of cotton. And she's like, this is weird. I don't like that. So she puts it up on the bookshelf and is like
the world's most menacing elf on the shelf.
This elf on the shelf is really starting some trouble.
Perky on a searchy. What?
Perky on a turkey. And at that moment, someone knocks on her door and it like startles her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not here. And in pops Fabian.
Oh, Fabian.
Dressed in a big fur coat with big coiffed hair, looking like Elton John.
Okay.
Right? Looking great.
Because he's like, I'm gay and British.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, you invited me last night.
Oh.
She's like, I don't remember because of the absinthe.
Yeah.
And she's like, also, I brought my new manuscript to read. And it's called Transylvanian Dirt. And I swear to God, Transylvanian Dirt. And she flips through the prologue and it's set in Nazi Germany. And she's like, who would do that? And that's very funny because this book's prologue was set in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a vampire.
We love
novel.
a self-referential king.
And she's like, he's like, it's a vampire novel. And vampires are going to be the next big thing.
Well, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
And he spots the weird doll on the shelf immediately. Because again, she doesn't have anything on the shelf except for this weird doll and like 2 books.
Yeah.
And he's like, the fuck is that? And she's like, it was my secret Santa gift. It's called a Pirt. And Fabian is looking around her office and like admiring the view and like what he's seeing in the park. And he notices the iron window grates. And he's like, iron is often used to keep evil spirits at bay. What do you think this old man was afraid of if he needed to have a doll to ward off evil spirits and iron bars on the windows?
Yeah.
Right? This guy is really scared of something. Anyway, Fabian leaves. I'm pretty sure he spikes the punch before he goes.
Good for him.
Just partying up. And she is like, where the hell is my intern?
It's so funny, by the way, spiking punch was it wasn't like socially acceptable, but it was just like a thing that we all were like, especially in media, they were like, yeah, it's fine. It happens. It's a thing that happens at parties. It's like somebody will toss something in the punch. And I'm like, you're drugging people.
Yeah.
Now we're like very much like, you're a monster.
Yeah, don't.
But back then it was like,
isn't
a fun little thing that they would do.
Uh-oh, we got you drunk.
Oh no, we put some LSD in the punch and now you think Christmas is real.
Uh-oh. So she goes to find Fabian. He was never at the party. And so she's like, I wonder if you went to the basement to get more manuscripts for me. And so she's like, I'll go down and check. And she gets a flashlight this time.
Hey, we're learning.
And heads down to the basement to see if Cal's there.
Okay.
When she goes down there, she hears some like really weird noises.
Yeah.
Like just like really weird noises.
Squelching?
No, but like a whimpering. And she comes across with her flashlight. There's Digby sitting on the floor, drunk and crying.
Okay.
And he's holding some green and white balance sheets. And he's crying that the company hasn't turned a profit in 40 years. And how could his father have done this to him? He willed this company to me as a joke, as an evil man. He should have left this to his tramp Agnes. The hate for Agnes is eternal with Rigby.
Yeah.
Digby.
Now you keep saying Rigby.
I know.
It's okay.
But, I mean, it's a weird name.
Okay.
But yeah, she finds him down there drunk and crying. And he like passes out. And she's like, well, let him sleep it off. It's his building. He owns it. He'll be fine. Just leave him in the basement.
Yeah.
And she hears another noise. And this one also sounds like an animal in pain. And she follows this noise and ends up at one of the cages full of the manuscripts. And there's a huge pile of manuscripts, but it's like toppled over, kind of like an avalanche, like that slide. And in the middle is a blue loafer sticking out. Dun, dun, dun. Should we take a break?
We should take a break right there.
Yeah, right there, right?
Okay.
It's the perfect spot to take a break.
It's a very good pod. Start to blah, 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 blah.
You're super good at podcasting.
We'll be right back. You don't have time to cook right now? Factor has you covered. Make a Factor meal in just 2 minutes. There's no prep and no mess. Just pop the meal into the microwave or heat it in a skillet and you're all set. With 35 meal options each week, as well as add-on convenience items, you'll never have to worry about running out of time to make dinner.
I have to say that Factor's been a lifesaver during the holiday season. Obviously, I'm cooking a lot of stuff for big family events, but a small or medium-sized meal that's quick and easy while I'm doing all that prep, Factor has come in and saved the day.
Choose from 6 different menu preferences to meet your goals, whether that's dropping a couple of pounds or eating vegetarian, or maybe you have just discovered that you are gluten-free. All those different things you can have at your fingertips by heading to factormeals.com/52many and use code 52many to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code 50TOOMANY at factormeals.com/52many to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping while your subscription is active. And we're back.
We're back. And guess what?
What?
Lucy has gone back to the hospital. She is visiting Cal at the ER.
Okay.
Because remember, we just saw his loafer sticking out from the pile of books.
Yeah, the pile of manuscripts.
Yeah, manuscripts.
Yeah.
And it turns out he has a fractured tibia, bruised ribs, and a concussion.
What's the tibia?
It's like your shin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
I always think clavicle.
that's your shoulder.
Yeah, that's the one right here on
Yeah,
your
well,
shoulder.
you don't want to break that. That's a bummer.
I know it's a bummer, but that's just the one I always think of. But tibia is like, ugh.
Yeah. So he has no memory of what happened, but he was apparently lying in the pile for a long time. And when they pulled him out of the books, they could see a little piece of his shin poking through the skin. I knew that was going to gross you out.
I don't
That's
like
why
body
said it.
horror.
That's why I left it in there, just to make you do that.
Yeah, I hate that.
Anyway, he's fine. She has a weekend. Back to Monday. We're going back to work. We don't
Okay.
hear about her weekends, okay? We don't care about her cat. And she's on her way back to work, and it's snowing outside.
Yep.
And she's city walking down the street, which is very important. When you're city walking, it means you're avoiding eye contact.
Yep.
Your shoulders are up. You're kind of like hustling through. You don't talk to nobody.
Hustling and bustling.
And also, it's windy and snowing, so you're like really kind of hunched over.
Yeah.
She's walking towards the
And you have a
building.
coat that covers your butt.
You have to have a coat that covers your butt.
You have to, because you have a cold butt.
You can listen, a cold butt, and then you sit on the subway in this cold seat. No,
That's how
get
we
out.
can tell the difference, by the way. Just so you know, when Mrs. P and I are out and about, we
Yeah.
can tell who lives in a city versus who lives in the suburbs
Yeah.
based on whether or not their coat covers their butt.
Because when you're in your car, you want it to not cover your butt because it makes sitting weird.
It makes sitting weird, especially when you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
If you're driving everywhere, you typically get a coat that is tapered around the waist area.
Yep.
And then your butt's out.
Butts out.
Because you want to pop right into the car and you don't want to take your coat off. Maybe you
Yep.
can leave your coat on. But if you're in the city and you're taking public transport or you're walking a lot, you want a longer
You're
coat.
wearing a sleeping bag out there, baby.
Most of the time, yeah.
It's a sleeping bag, and it's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's walking, city walking.
Yep.
And as she's like walking up to the office, the building where she
Yeah.
works, a tall man with a fedora walks up in front of her and says, "Are you Miss Myers?" And she's like, "Do I know you?" And he introduces himself as Peter Faber, and shows a brass badge, and he's an OSHA inspector.
Okay.
I was hoping we could chat, he says. When I tell you, I fucking screamed at the idea of an OSHA inspector out here in a fedora with a badge.
Yeah, I like this. It's a little bit like the health inspectors from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, was he the OSHA? Was he the same guy in the fedora?
Yes, he's the fedora guy from across the way.
The creepy fedora
That was
man from
staring
before.
at her.
Oh.
And she's like, why are you asking me? Is this about Cal? And he's like, who is Cal? And she's like, again, what is this all about? And he's like, every workplace injury is required by law to be filed with OSHA. When an employee is hospitalized or killed or an accidental amputation or whatever, it has to be, you have to file with OSHA. And there's been a string of accidents at Blackwood Patterson, and we have documents dating back to the early 70s, and it could go back longer, but that's when the requirements were in place.
Time out.
Yeah.
Again, we have foreign listeners. We have international audiences.
Okay.
OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Yeah.
It is part of the federal government. There are some state agencies as well. And their job is to make sure that working conditions are safe. They're supposed to be there to make sure that people are wearing hard hats, that, the railing isn't deficient.
There's proper lighting.
There's proper lighting,
clean water.
all these different things to make sure that the ground isn't too slick, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what OSHA is there for. Now, do they typically dress like men in black? No.
No, I don't think they have badges.
No, I don't know if they have badges.
I don't think they
but,
do. Because I've called OSHA a few times. You know me. I'll
Yeah.
call some OSHA.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of when I was working in catering, and we had to like go to different venues for
Yep.
weddings and stuff. And I went and did this one wedding, and the people that owned this facility, it was a farm that they turned into a wedding place so you could have farm weddings.
Yep.
Right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember which one you're talking about.
So we had to drive there. We weren't allowed to park on the premises. So we had to take a shuttle bus, which was actually an old school bus, over to the place where the thing was. And then we had like where the staff set up like a little tent, but there was no running water. And they were like, we have food service.
Yeah,
like we need to be able to wash our hands.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we can bring a hose extension and we can double up the hose and you can use the hose water. And I was like, okay, maybe fine for washing hands, right?
Yeah.
But we're filling up water pitchers for people to drink out of. You want us to use hose water?
Yeah.
I mean, are they boomers talking about how they live better?
Are they Gen X?
Gen X?
We used to drink from the hose.
And so that was one thing. And then all of the pathways that we had to use to walk around the whole landscape of the place to like serve hors d'oeuvres and stuff were like these terrible stones that were like rocky and slippery and offset. Because realistically what happened was 2 or 3 people got together and were like, we're going to buy this venue and do weddings here. And they didn't want to update it.
They bought
at
a farm.
all.
Yeah.
They bought a farm. We're like, we're going to do weddings. And
Yeah,
people are going to
mason jar weddings.
Exactly. Like, it's going to be so aesthetic.
Yeah, tea lights.
And they didn't do anything to prep it for
Yep.
actually having a wedding there. There was also a pool that had no safety around it. So all these drunk people at a certain point were like falling into the pool. There was no, when it got dark out and we were still trying to serve hors d'oeuvres, there was no lighting on any of those slippy, rocky walkways. And then like there was no lighting to get to the back areas. Like it was crazy. And I could have let all of it go.
Yeah.
But they were so fucking mean to the person who owned that catering company. And she's a goddamn angel.
Yeah, who's a sweetheart. We both worked for that catering company
And
at
we
different
love her.
times. And she's amazing. And someday, hopefully, we can have her on an episode.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And so anyway, I got really mad that they were mean to her and the facility was bad. And so I called OSHA.
Yeah.
And I left a lot of complaints about the safety.
And in fact, I actually have it up here right now. If you're in the United States and you do end up in a situation where you're at a workplace and it's dangerous, or there's something having to do with your workers' rights or other things, go to OSHA.gov/workers/file-complaint, or just type in OSHA.gov and just start following the stuff there on Google. It is part of the U.S. Department of Labor.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that we
This
want to
episode
see
is
more
going
of.
wild.
Listen, we've ended up with a lot of workers' rights.
We always
on this
do.
episode.
We always do.
I know when people are like, well, is your podcast political? I mean, everything I do is political.
I don't know what you're talking about. Of
It's
course
just
it
who
is.
we are.
I just all we talk about.
Listen, all I'm saying is when Cal, the unpaid intern, ended up under a stack of poorly filed manuscripts, while the owner of the company wept feet from him, by the way.
Drunk, yeah.
The owner is drunk, weeping on the floor that his business has never made money, while a college student literally drowns in paperwork in a poorly lit basement.
So she's like, I don't know why you're asking me. I just started here. I don't think I can help you with this. Like, you need to talk to the upper management,
Yeah.
like Digby or whatever. And he's like, no, I don't want you to help me. I want to help you. I'm trying to warn you. I think you're in danger.
Yeah.
Right? And she gets in, she like kind of like gets away from him because this is weird. This guy's weird. This is a
Yeah.
weird thing. So she kind of shuffles in the door as quickly as possible. Again, big heavy door. And she gets the giant door open. And again, it's snowing. She's been walking fast. And Gail's at the front desk. And she's like, is everything okay? Because like she's breathing heavy. She's weird. And Lucy's like, yeah, there's just like this man. And before she even gets the words out, Gail has pulled out a piece from underneath her desk. And it's just this huge silver handgun, size of her forearm and thick with a scope. Right? Gail just like pops this piece out. And I was like, what? There's a guy? What are you talking about? And Lucy's like, whoa, hey, listen, I just had a question. Did like we submit an OSHA report for the accident with Cal? And she's like, yeah, we do what we're required within 24 hours. Don't worry. It's an old building. Accidents happen and our insurance covers it. And then like she says, Lucy says something else to Gail, and Gail is just excited to have her gun out, and she just shoots into the air and hits the Christmas tree.
Gail just shoots a gun? But you're describing like a 44 Magnum, too.
Yeah. She calls it like the Desert Eagle, or she has like a cool name for it, too.
Well, no. A Desert Eagle is a specific type of gun that shoots 50 caliber bullets.
Yeah, she shoots the Christmas tree with it.
She pulls out a deagle.
Just to point a point.
She pulls out a deagle and shoots
Prove
the
a
Christmas
point.
tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gail.
I know who she mains on Counter-Strike. That is crazy.
So Lucy leaves the situation. She's like, Gail's wild. I gotta go.
Okay.
She gets up to her office. Door's open again, even though she locked it. This time, Digby is sitting in her chair, and we find out that he's been waiting for her, and he stepped in some more shit in her office. And he's like, why is there shit in the floor of your office? And she's like, yeah, like, I don't know what's going on. I tried to talk to the Raven about it.
Is it human poop?
No, it's smaller than human poop.
Okay.
The whole book, she's trying to figure out what it is. I think it's raccoon poop. I think there's a raccoon loose in the place.
And that just poops in her office.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe the maintenance man's letting the raccoon in there on purpose.
Okay, got it. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The other day, I went to PAX Unplugged, my absolute favorite convention.
Yep.
And I was walking with a buddy of mine whose podcast I just did called Save Your Game. It's a very fun podcast. You should go check it out. But he and I cut through an alleyway because of where I parked to go to the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia. And we lived in Philly, downtown Philly, for 10 years.
Yeah.
I have never seen so much human poop and dead rats in one alley as I did between, I think it was 12th Street and Broad.
Oh, yeah.
Like right where I was at 12th and Arch to Broad. And I was like, oh, that's a lot. I was like, oh, that's a lot of poop. That's it. I was like, that is not dog.
No.
And he was like, no, that is human poop.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just this one alley. They went crazy with it.
It must be a nice, quiet alley.
I think it was right near that one clinic.
So he is like, yeah, I stepped in some shit that was in your office, and I had Cal go wash off my shoes for me.
I do love the fact that they never actually answered what this is. It's just constantly.
I think at the end of the book they do, and it's like a raccoon.
Okay.
But I was like, it's not even that important.
Gotcha.
The plot device is that now Cal is back, and she's like, why is Cal here? He has a broken leg. And he's like, yeah, but he has crutches. It's fine. He just went to do it. So he has the unpaid intern hobbling across the place to go wash his shoes for him.
Which is very reminiscent of the lady. Remember the Standards and Practices lady from Scrooged?
Oh, yes.
Who's constantly like getting
beat up. She's the OSHA lady.
She's the OSHA, but no, she's Standards and Practices.
I know.
So she's constantly like getting a head injury, all this different stuff throughout the entire movie. Okay, I like that.
We find out that the funeral for Xavier Blackwell, his dad, is tomorrow and is being held at Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
And he asks her how her search for the next Stephen King is going. And they're talking, and she notices that Perky is missing from the wall. First the fruitcake, and now this. People are stealing her shit. After Digby leaves, Raven comes in, and she kind of steals the intern. She's like, you're going to come help me now. And so she takes the unpaid intern on crutches with a broken leg to go do stuff.
Well, to be fair, Lucy broke him.
Yeah.
So give him to the Raven.
Okay.
Nevermore.
Lucy goes back to the basement after lunch to get more into that slush pile. And as she's leaving the basement, she kicks something in the dark. And she looks down, and it's Perky. She's like, did I bring him down here yesterday from the Christmas party? And she's like, no, I think someone's playing jokes on me again. Mm-hmm. Real jerks. She goes upstairs to the break room to get a cup of coffee with her weird doll in tow. While she's in there, she notices there's a cold breeze and that the fire escape door is open. And we learn that, like, they're constantly leaving the fire escape door open because they like to go smoke out in the fire escape.
Okay. Meanwhile, Raven's just getting high in the bathroom.
Yeah, she's the boss. She's doing what she wants. But she's like, if you guys are going to smoke, you have to do it out here.
Yeah.
Also, it's just nice to smoke outside sometimes, remember? No, I'm just kidding.
I
Don't
do remember.
smoke. Smoking is bad for you. And we're all excited that you quit smoking. So she goes and closes it. She's going to close it because it's cold.
Yeah.
And snowing out. And as she, like, walks up to the door, she can see through the building almost and see the window to the conference room. And there's a meeting going on. And all the staff is in there, even Cal. They're all in there and not her. She's the only one not in there. And she's like, why the fuck are they having an all-staff meeting without me?
Yeah.
Why didn't I get, a message? Because they don't have emails. So, like, why didn't anyone tell me?
Yeah.
Right? So she's pissed off.
God, life before emails.
Right? There was no Teams meeting.
They lived in heaven, those fucks.
Yeah.
No Teams ding. Ugh.
Yeah.
You have to wiggle your mouse every fucking 5 minutes to make sure your screen doesn't close.
Wiggle your mouse right now if you're listening.
I reach for the mouse.
You did. Yeah.
Everybody wiggle your mouse right now.
Yay. She goes and closes the door. She's in there. She's storming off back to her office. She's pissed off. As she's going back, she passes Stanley, the art guy's office, which his door is open and the office is empty. So her being her, I guess, decides she's going to go inside and look at the mock-ups, right? And while she's in there, Stanley comes in from behind and he's like, what did you do with Norma? You stole Norma. And we find out that Stanley might be like a Vietnam vet and he has like a little bit of PTSD rage stuff. So he's like screaming at her, demanding to know where Norma is. And the Raven shows up as she walks by and she's like, what did you do to Stanley? And Lucy's like, I don't know. He just keeps screaming that I stole Norma. And the Raven hands him a mechanical pencil. And she's like, you left this in the conference room. And Raven is like, why are you bugging him? Like, you should apologize for going to his office. Like, you shouldn't have done that. And she's like, everybody always goes into my office. Everyone's in my office all the time. And then she, like, offhandedly, she's like, I'll apologize to him, and I'm going to stick the pencil where the sun doesn't shine. Because the pencil's name is Norma.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And Raven's slightly amused, and she's like, this isn't the first time it happened. Just give him some time to calm down.
Broken stare.
Lucy asks Raven about the meeting where they all were, where Cal is. And she's kind of like, whatever, like, you didn't need to be there. You don't need to be there, right? And then she's like, well, where's Cal? Where's my intern? And Raven's like, oh, I sent him to Midtown to pick up a manuscript for me. And Lucy's like, he has a broken leg. And Raven goes, he has crutches and excellent upper body strength. He'll be fine.
Wow.
They're free laboring the fuck out of Cal right now.
Yeah. And he's a film major.
Yeah. He doesn't want to do publishing.
Yeah.
Lucy goes back to her office.
He'll teach him for putting his leg up on that desk, though.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So she realized that in all the hubbub, she left Perky in the art director's office. It's in Stanley's office.
Yeah.
And so she's in her office alone. She's remembering she did that. And she's just kind of like, this job fucking sucks. These people suck. They're all so fucking weird. Is this even worth it? She's so mad and stressed out. And then she ends up pulling Fabian's manuscript out. Because remember, he brought her the manuscript?
Yeah.
And he starts reading it, the Transylvanian Dirt or whatever it's called. And she loves it.
Yeah, it's good.
She spends her whole shift basically reading this book until like 5 o'clock. End of scene, next chapter, right? Next morning, whole staff's back at the office. They're all in the lobby. It's the day of the funeral. They're all meeting there to then leave to go to Carnegie Hall. And Lucy isn't excited per se, but everyone in publishing in New York is going to be there. Editors, agents, everybody in the know of publishing and books is going to be there. So like, this is going to be an event. And the staff is all getting ready to head over. And I think Gail and somebody else are like, has anybody seen Stanley? And another staff member is like, no, like, he hates riding public transit down here, so he probably went right from home to the hall, so he doesn't have to stop here. And Raven pulls Lucy aside and is like, can you actually stay behind? We're getting a really important package delivered with like a very important manuscript. And since you knew Xavier the least, it would helpful if you were here to sign for FedEx, so that all the staff can go, like Gail and everybody. Yeah. And Lucy's pissed. Like, she wanted to go to this event. Yeah. And now the Raven's like, no, you need to stay behind because Gail deserves to go.
But she's, okay, I understand that Raven is editor-in-chief, but she's a senior editor.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. Okay.
But she has to wait for this FedEx package. I need you to know that once they all leave, she literally leaves the building and goes and gets a coffee from the Russian deli down the corner.
Yeah.
And then, so she's all alone in the building. She has her coffee. And she goes to the art department. She's like, I'm going to sneak in there and get my little dolly. My little Perky. Yeah. Because she knows he's not there. And when she opens the door to the office, Stanley is sitting on his chair in the dark. And he doesn't move when she calls his name. Like, hey, Stanley. And he doesn't answer. And as he comes more into frame with the lighting from behind her, she can see that he is alive. And his eyes are wide open staring at her. And his nose has like some dried blood. And she's like, God, these art guys are such cokeheads. And she grabs him a tissue and she's like, let me help you get some of the blood off your shirt. Are you okay? Like, blah, blah. And as she gets closer, she sees there's a shiny metal object reflecting from his face because Norma is jammed deep into his nasal cavity. Yeah. So Lucy calls 911 and she's crying and freaking out and throwing up.
Because he's been lobotomized with a fucking...
Yeah, with a mechanical pencil.
Yeah. Not
even a sharpenable one. And as the paramedics are there getting him loaded into the ambulance, she goes outside to get some fresh air. Yeah. When guess who shows up?
OSHA.
Fabian.
Oh.
And she tells him about what's happening. She's like, this is crazy, right? Like, I feel crazy, and this is awful. I feel bad. Blah, blah. And she fills him on everything that's going on, like Cal's leg, the secret meeting, all this hazing and bullying, the mystery pooper that's happening in her office.
Yeah.
And
Fabian's like, I'm gay and British. I'm gay and British.
Yeah, he literally is
Should be having fun and listening to Charlie XCX.
And back then it would have been Boy George.
Charlie XCX.
He's like, yeah. So anyway, New York is like hella stressful, and maybe you're getting burned out. Have you ever gone to the doctor about maybe schizophrenia? Like, he's like, girl, this is a lot.
Because he's what, Levy?
Yeah. Dan Levy?
Dan Levy.
Yeah.
He's Dan Levy in like anything. Just
exactly.
like, girl, what?
Girl, what? She's like, I don't think I'm imagining things. And while she's talking to him, they're like having this conversation out on the front stoop, if you will.
Yeah.
She looks across the park and she sees a man in a trench coat and a fedora. And she's like, I gotta go. And she just runs across the street into the park to chase down Fedora guy.
Yeah.
And she ends up standing at one of the fire cans to warm her hands. And he walks up behind her. And it's Peter. And he's like, do you believe me now? And we find out that Peter's name is actually really Frederick.
All right.
And he's an intern that used to work there.
What?
He doesn't work for OSHA. OSHA was a cover.
Oh, God damn it, Frederick. Let me cross that out and write Frederick.
Yeah. So he gives her some information about his experience working there in the terrible workplace. And he's like, this building is totally fucky. It's super weird and spooky ooky.
I'm still waiting for Santa.
And he says the whole neighborhood. Okay, so basically what happened is Frederick, while he was working there, he was like, this place is fucky. And so instead of just being like going along with the flow, he started looking up everything about that place.
Yeah.
Doing background research. And he got fired because he was snooping too much.
Because he was doing too much lore.
Too much deep lore.
Yeah.
And what he found out was the neighborhood where the house is, the building is where it used to be Little Germany. And all of the immigrants had brought, obviously, their folklore and superstitions. And the man who had originally built the Blackwood building was deeply superstitious. He wanted to protect his vast fortune from his enemies, real or supernatural. And he had, Frederick had an incredible quote in the book. He said, quote, the rich live in constant fear of being destitute, as they should. Oh, okay, Frederick.
Okay,
Frederick.
Well, now they also worry about walking down the street.
Well,
Ayo, 2024.
So, that's why he has all the iron gates, because on the whole building is iron gates, because he wanted to protect his fortune.
Gotcha.
From the supernatural and his enemies.
Yeah.
Bad vibes. Anyway, Frederick gives her a Bible, and then she leaves. I think Frederick was like a student of theology, so he's like a religious guy.
Yeah.
So, sure.
German.
So, no, I think he might be African American.
Oh, really?
I feel like he is. I didn't write it down.
I just assume everybody in this book is German until told otherwise. Because it has everything about it is just like, and then there's this German thing. And then another German thing.
Christmas is, it's got that.
Yeah.
So Lucy is like, so you're saying the spirits can't get into the building? And Frederick is like, sure, but also it could keep bad spirits caged in. Right? This is a prison of bad spirits. All the emergency vehicles are gone by the time she gets back to the building.
Okay.
She sits at the front desk and starts reading Fabian's book again.
Okay.
A while later, hours later, Raven and the team are back. And Raven comes storming in, like, what the fuck is going on here? You smell like fire. I just saw a homeless man on the street who I had to buy my manuscript from FedEx back from for 75 cents. And it's basically destroyed because, again, she wasn't there for the package.
Yeah.
So somebody stole it and then sold it back to the Raven.
Got it. Yeah.
And Lucy explained what happened to Stanley. And the Raven was like, okay, so, like, why don't you go home? Like, go home.
Yeah.
This has been a bit of a day. That's a lot. She does go home, and she calls Fabian. And he's like, yo, what the fuck? You're such a rude-ass bitch. Like, we were talking, and then you ran into the park without saying anything.
Yeah. Just whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, and she's like, can we please meet up? I need to talk to someone in person. I feel crazy. And Fabian, again, a hero of this book, is like, listen, I already left the house once today. I don't want to do it again. He's like, I don't want to come downtown, okay? I'll meet you somewhere closer if I have to leave my house.
Yeah.
So they decide they're going to meet at a library that's closer to him because he's like, I'm not leaving. Thank you so much. So they set in a time and place, and she gets some work done at her office and starts trying to like brainstorm about who could be behind all this stuff. So she like makes a list, if you will, of all the people that work there. And she's like, who are my enemies?
Yeah.
Who are these people that are out to get me?
It's always good to have an enemies list.
No, is it?
It's always good to have an enemies list. I've learned that from very competent people who are currently about to run our government.
who
Well,
are super cool. We've
super
never said
cool.
anything bad about before.
They all have great penises. Very thick and lush.
So, she's going to the library, but first she's going to go back to the office to grab the Bible Frederick gave her so that she can show it to Fabian like he's never seen a Bible. I don't know.
And the Bible's missing?
She gets back to the office, the Bible's gone.
Hey!
And then while she's so she's in her office, she opens her drawer, there's no Bible. She's like, the fuck? And then one of the editor ladies, I think her name is
Perky
Rachel.
still there, though?
I feel like Perky's missing.
Okay.
Perky might be there. Hold on. We'll find out. So Rachel, one of the editors, it comes in and she's like visibly in shockish, like kind of just like in shock. And she's like, I just got back from visiting Stanley and he is not doing great.
Yeah, got lobotomized.
The
with a
pencil
pen.
was hella close to his frontal lobe.
Yeah.
And he can't speak, but he's still drawing pictures. And she's like, look at the picture he drew for me. And she hands it to her, and it's this horrifying picture of a little furry demon with sharp teeth and horns. It's a picture of Perky.
Okay.
And she's like, oh my God, was he like staring at this doll while he was just like sitting there freaking out? While they're talking, they start hearing this crazy pinging against the windows. And Rachel's like, these fucking teens are probably throwing snowballs again. And so they open the blinds because Rachel's about to yell at them. And it's not teens throwing snowballs. It's birds flying into the side of the building and then crashing and breaking their necks. And there's blood and they're sliding down as they die.
Okay.
And Rachel starts screaming and passes out.
This is not the first time we've had birds crashing into the side of a building in one
That
of
is
these
something
books.
that we see in a lot of horror.
Okay.
Is that
Birds
are a
killing
big-
themselves.
There's always, there's folklore about birds flying into buildings
Yeah,
as a sign of distress.
Does nobody put stickers on their windows?
Okay. You should really put stickers on your windows if birds flying in your windows is a problem.
Yep.
It saves their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Rachel passes out after screaming.
Yep.
Lucy's kind of standing there like in shock. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait, what is that really sweet smell? And then she passes out. Okay.
Mhm.
Lucy comes to. And she's staring up at a checkerboard ceiling. And her head is pounding. And she realizes that she's tied to a table.
What?
Yeah. She's been strapped to a table. She's looking up at the ceiling on it from a table. She's been tied to a table with multicolored Christmas lights. And
Okay. I'm glad we're getting back to Christmas because it hasn't felt very Christmassy since the Secret Santa celebration.
okay, I mean, that's fair.
I've been sitting here and it's like
she is currently strapped to a table by multicolored Christmas lights.
Okay, got it.
She tries to scream, but there's packing tape on her mouth, and she can see dark figures moving around the room. People are wearing cloaks and masks.
Okay.
And they shuffle around her quietly,
Ooh.
and someone says, okay, who plugged in the Christmas lights?
I think that's a good spot for us to take a quick break.
Sure.
And then it feels like we're starting to get towards some conclusions.
Listen, yeah.
Okay.
We're getting there.
I know. I just want to talk about
Yeah.
Okay. Calm down.
Don't you start with me.
I'm not starting
The
with you.
Christmas lights are plugged in, for God's sakes. It's
I
getting
know-
so good.
I know it's getting good. That's why we're going to take a break right here, and then we can go good all the way to the end.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I'm trying to get with. Stick around. We'll be right back. Having amazing hair can bolster your confidence. If you've been struggling with hair thinning, Hims can help. Hims provides access to a range of hair loss treatments. Choose between a chewable treatment, an oral pill, a spray, or a serum, whatever works best for you. With doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that regrow your hair in as little as 3 to 6 months, you won't have to wait forever for the hair of your dreams. You don't even need insurance, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/tabs. That's HIMS.com/TABS for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/tabs. Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website and full details and important safety information. hims.com/tabs. We're back. Here we are.
We're here.
She's plugged in.
Oh my God, she's plugged in.
Okay.
Lucy counts there's 6 people surrounding her,
All wearing cloaks.
cloaks and wearing Halloween masks. And she's like, these are the coworkers that have been conspiring against me.
Yeah.
Here they are.
Okay.
I'm also tied to a table.
Yeah.
One of the people pulls out a big Bowie knife.
Big Bowie knife.
And they're describing a ritual in which they have to spiritually cleanse her by cutting out her heart.
Really?
Yeah.
Like this?
Okay. No, you're going to get demonetized on YouTube.
Okay. Well, I think you can hold up a knife.
No, I don't think you can.
I think it's a fake knife.
Yeah.
It's a fake knife I'm holding
Put that
up.
down. Put it down.
It's a Bowie knife, though.
Put it down.
It's a fake Bowie knife.
Okay. So we find out that the cloak crew, they believe she is evil. They're like, we think you're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we know that you met with Frederick. And they're like, he wasn't fired. He was escorted out of the building in a straitjacket. He'd
'Cause he
gone
went
out
crazy.
of his meds 2 months before that. And Lucy doesn't believe them. They're like, we know that you're evil and you're the reason Xavier died. And I'm also going to be like, I thought he was like 90. So like maybe he just died because he's old.
Yeah.
Also, like, you told Cal that you would break his leg if he put it up on the desk, and then boom, he broke his leg.
That's true.
And you said that you would stick Stanley's pencil where the sun didn't shine, and now Stanley has a pencil where the sun doesn't shine.
Well, that hold on. But where the sun doesn't shine is the butthole.
It is the butthole.
It is the butthole.
For
Shoving it up
sure.
your nose.
That's not where the sun doesn't shine.
No, because he would say I'd shove it up his nose.
Yeah.
I'm going to shove that up. I'm going to take that mechanical pencil, shove it right up his nose.
And I feel like if we're writing a fiction horror book, we could have just put it up his butt. But
yeah.
So Lucy's like, number one, I didn't do that stuff. And number two, if I'm so powerful, why would you even do this to me? And like wrap her up on the thing, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, the bells on the Christmas lights have cast iron and they will protect us from your evil, bad magic.
Okay.
Right? Because
they believe in magic. Okay,
superstitious, bad vibes.
got it. Okay.
Okay? Christmas lights are going to protect us.
Everybody's German.
Okay. So then she's like, listen, your logic doesn't work. I've talked shit on all kinds of people here. She's like, I told Sloppy Joe that whoever stole my fruitcake, I hope they choke on it.
Yeah.
And nobody choked on it. And so the room goes silent. And one of them goes, you didn't know who stole your fruitcake, and therefore your evil magic couldn't work.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
So
couldn't target it, witch.
Witch. So then the person who's clearly the leader
Also, why do all these people have cloaks?
I don't know, but
It's
I love
crazy
that
they
got
were like
cloaks and Halloween masks.
They're like, we had to get cloaks. Okay, well, we're gonna do
if
a ritual.
we're really gonna kidnap one of our team staff
We're gonna do a
members
ritualistic murder
day after the Christmas party.
Yeah. Okay, we'll bring the cloaks. Do you have the brooch to close them? I never got the brooches. Shit.
Oh, damn it.
Okay.
So the main person that's been like doing all the talking removes their mask and looks at her, like kind of just like peeks the mask close to her face, and is like, that cake was delicious.
Yeah.
And it was Raven. And because
she got high and she ate the cake.
And she has the bow knife. She's the one with the knife. And she's about to stab out her heart, right? She's like, stands up and is like,
this knife?
Put that knife down.
All right.
And she's like, all of a sudden, the Raven starts choking violently and falls to the ground dead. And now the other people panic because they're like, the Christmas lights aren't working. She's too powerful. And
Wait, the Raven just falls down dead, choking out of nowhere.
And then drops the knife. Yeah. So
this knife?
Put that knife down. And there's like a whole kind of like fight, escape, battle scene, whatever. She gets loose. She grabs the knife.
How did she get loose? Did she sound like this when she's like, whoop, 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 whoop,
Yes,
whoop?
very that.
Okay.
Raven is on the ground,
okay.
And as she gets closer to her, she can smell the scent of fruitcake coming off her. And Lucy's like, how the fuck did she choke on fruitcake? She ate that last week.
Yeah.
Right? That's crazy.
I know.
So she makes it out of the room, and they're all chasing her. And she gets out of the building, and she runs outside, and there's a cab parked right in front of the building.
Yeah.
And she gets right in the cab, and she's like, driver, go anywhere, just drive, right? And then we hear a voice that's right next to her in the seat. She got in someone else's cab. And he says, she's with me. And it's Fabian. He was in a cab waiting for her, apparently.
Yeah.
So they head back to Fabian's apartment. It's actually his mom's apartment. It's lovely. And Lucy told him all the things that had happened again. She's like, they tried to kill me. They strapped me to a table. There was a knife. Ba, 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 ba. And he's like, you should contact the police.
Yes.
The NYPD. And she's like, no, thank you. They're going to put me in the loony bin. And Fabian doesn't really believe her. He thinks she has like a little case, a touch of the hysteria, if you will. But at the same time, he's like, I have heard rumors about Blackwood like I told you, like, because he warned her day one. She's like, yeah, I know you warned me that the dead boss played a lot of grab ass.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, but I had also heard that Blackwood was banned from participating in the college internship programs in New York because there was a number of disappearances with interns.
Oh.
And people just kind of assumed that, like, Xavier was so mean that these kids just, like, moved back to Iowa.
And left the industry.
Completely.
Yeah.
So he got banned from internship, which is why, likely, Digby went to the film program. Because he's not allowed to get interns from the regular, like,
I get
what would
you.
be English majors or writing majors. So Fabian pulls out a little baggie of pills.
Yeah.
And he's like, you are never going to sleep on your own. I can dissolve 2 of these in your tea and you can get some sleep. My mom's going to make up the guest bedroom. You can crash here tonight. You know, we don't want your crazy workers going to Long Island.
Have a little bit of lovely.
And she's like, she's not listening. She's not taking this in. She's like, I'm going to sneak back into the building because my purse is there and my ID. And it's like, okay, go back there tomorrow maybe.
Yeah.
When they didn't try to stab your heart out. But she's like, no, I'm going to climb in through the fire escape so they don't see me coming in so I can get my stuff. And he's like, hey, why don't you just go to sleep? And she does not listen to that because she's like, they always leave this fire escape open so I can sneak in through there. And so he, like, turns his back to do something, and she puts the pills in his tea.
She's just old switcheroo.
She drugs Fabian.
And he's like, great. He falls asleep because he just loves pills.
I love a nap.
He's just like, I love pills.
I love a nap.
It's Britain. It's 1986. I'm British and gay.
Yeah.
Anything me getting drugged is the best thing that happened to me as a gay man in the 80s.
I mean,
there's so many worse things that could happen.
So she leaves, but she doesn't go to the office, right?
Okay, of course not.
She goes to Agnes's house. Remember the old lady secretary?
Yes, who loved sucking that old man's.
So the old lady secretary, and she wants to talk to her about this long list of missing interns. She's like, she's the lady that was probably in charge of this for Xavier. She wants to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So Agnes invites her in. She's kind of has that vibe of like, I knew you'd show up eventually.
Yeah.
No.
They all
and
show
she
up.
invites her in for tea and get this fruitcake, which is in the oven.
At
At a certain point,
because Agnes is German.
I mean, I think so. Her name's
Look
Agnes.
at me. Look at me. I know.
At a certain point, they have a really weird conversation. It's real like snotty and like two cats kind of growling at each other.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need to use the restroom. Is that okay? And so she goes to the restroom.
Lucy needs to use the restroom.
Lucy needs the restroom.
Okay.
And after she's done her business,
She
there's
had to poop.
no TP on the roll.
What? Oh my God! What is she?
So
is Agnes you? You monster.
So they're like, okay. She's like looking around the room trying to figure out where she keeps the backup toilet paper.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult when it's not your bathroom.
Yeah. And Agnes is probably the type of person who doesn't put it back on the roll either. In fact, probably just leaves it on the toilet behind you, or maybe just floating around on the floor, or maybe just like in the hall pantry.
I feel like if we're going to start throwing rocks in glass houses, you shouldn't do it when there's a microphone in front of me.
Okay.
Because I'm sitting in a room of rocks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I have this big knife.
Put the knife away. Okay. So she's looking around the bathroom trying to figure out where the extra toilet paper is.
Yeah.
And right on the back of the toilet, the what's it called?
Lid?
Not the lid. There's a name for that thing, the thing behind you. Tank. On the back of the tank is a box. Yeah. And she's like, oh, there's probably toilet paper in the box. But then she looks at the box closer. And it's the very same box that the pair Chet was in Xavier's office.
Okay. You've called this every name.
I don't care.
I know. I just want you to
Perky.
know. I know. But it started off as Perk 10.
Yeah.
And then it became a Perchette. And then you've changed the names of this thing. Yeah, it's incredible. I just want to just mind you for the listeners out there.
Yeah.
Whenever you hear our weird hoagie mouth accents hit a word and you're like, I'm going to explain to them how to pronounce it. I want you to listen to how many different ways she's hit this one. This German word that she even told you she looked up and she listened to how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And I just looked at her. I was like, you have pronounced this 15 different ways. We even agreed to call it Perky. And then she's like, I don't give a shit. Fuck you. I'm just trying to communicate with you using words. So just keep that in mind when she pronounces whatever street, city, last name.
Yeah, and then I'm going to argue with other people about how to pronounce Shakamakson or
Yeah.
Schuylkill.
Watch this. How do you pronounce? If it's in a strip mall, you were taught how to fight in a strip mall by an instructor. What would that be called?
Oh, karate?
Exactly. Not karate. Karate?
Karate.
Talking about karate?
My cousin Tommy did karate.
Yeah, cousin Tommy did karate.
Listen.
Her cousin Tommy did karate. Okay? So she sees the perk. So there's
now
a perk.
we're done making fun of me.
Time out. There's a perk box on the back of the
There's
commode.
a perk box. But actually in the perk box is where the toilet paper is. She's using it for storage. Incredible, Agnes. Incredible.
Honestly,
Incredible.
and also classy.
Classy.
I've been to places where they have like a little. I like it when it's like a little fake trunk
Yeah.
and it's a little latch on it. That's nice.
It's nice. This box is from Nazi Germany, though. So that's weird, Agnes. I'm going to put that out there.
Well, if you flip it over, she doesn't know that though. Lucy doesn't know.
Lucy
this.
doesn't know that.
You know
But
this.
Agnes knows it.
Yeah, Agnes don't give a fuck.
Okay.
Agnes is German.
So
This is heritage, not hate.
Oh no. No. Bleep that. Delete it.
Oh, wrong button.
Get off the button board, Mister.
That was supposed to be this allegedly.
There you go. So the toilet paper's in the box. She heads back out to the table where they were sitting having tea, and Agnes is holding the Bowie knife that Lucy had on her. She found it in her purse. She went looking
This
in
one?
her purse. Okay, put the knife away. And she's like, "We need to talk." And then Agnes, in the boldest move, slices the fruitcake with the Bowie knife.
This one?
Yeah.
Put the knife away.
Put the knife away.
It was a good running gag.
And explains to Lucy that the boy has chosen her.
The boy?
The boy.
The boy.
That's who she calls Perky the boy.
The boy.
Which would have been way more easier to say the whole time.
Yep.
Just call him the boy, but instead we've just been messing around with some German language.
Yeah.
And then we get Agnes decide she's going to explain everything. Basically, this is the moment where we're going to learn everything. And she says to Lucy, "How much do you know about the Nazis and the occult?"
Okay. That's when I would have been like, you know what, Agnes? Nice to meet you.
I gotta go.
I'm moving to L.A.
I gotta go.
I'm moving to L.A. where this is not a problem.
Yeah.
This feels like very much a New York thing.
Hitler was fascinated with the occult, and the Third Reich sought out ancient treasures they thought could turn the tide of the war.
Actually, real quick.
Yeah.
That's not true. It actually wasn't Hitler. It was the other guy, the guy who was in charge of the SS, who I can't remember. Himmler was the one who was obsessed with stuff. Hitler played into it a little bit when it came to the language stuff. Listen, yeah, okay, I became a dad and I care more about World War II. Fuck y'all. But Himmler and the SS were super into the occult. But I'll let her continue because this is an 80s movie.
And
they're not going to get everything right. They didn't have Google.
That box is a Nazi paraphernalia discovered by our former employer in the snowy fields of Germany.
And then he murdered his friend.
So she's like, yeah, it's the box for the Perky doll. And Agnes is like, so then you know about the legends surrounding these dolls. And Lucy's like, I mean, my grandmother had one and she told us stories, but it wasn't anything that deep. And she's like, Agnes is like, when Xavier discovered this doll, his luck turned. He was shipped home months ahead of schedule. He arrived home to find out that he was flush with cash. But the price, however, was steep. His parents had died in a car accident, and the money was from a settlement with the automobile company. Xavier realized that Perky was influencing his life, and he began to love it as a son. He needed to hide it, though, and not in a box, in a fortress. Agnes is like, there is a price to pay, and Xavier knew that. And that's what the interns came in. He had to sacrifice the interns to the doll.
Okay.
And the Perky has chosen you.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I need to roll back on something.
Go ahead.
I'm using Minions logic here.
Yep.
So you know how in the Minions, which friend of the podcast, Jeff Stormer, who runs Party One podcast, has explained to us, that in the Minions storyline, you guys know the Minions?
We all know the Minions.
From Despicable Me with Gru.
Yes.
The Minions. Banana. The Minions have to work for the most evil person in the world. Yeah. And they show them throughout time and history working for evil people. With the exception of when they get caught in an ice cave from 1812, I think, because they work for Napoleon. and then they get caught in like the 1830s in an ice cave through like 1960 because they specifically were like, we have written that he's going to work, the minions have to work for the most evil person in the world, and we cannot show animations of the minions taking part in the Holocaust.
Yep, can't do that.
But, which means that Perky has to be fed human lives.
Yes.
By the Nazi machine.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that Perky was being fed lives via the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But they still lost the entire war.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I needed to bring it in.
Christ.
I needed to bring it in. Hey, listen, we said at the very beginning of this, when you read the prologue, that this was not a no Nazis guarantee episode.
We could not guarantee it.
If anything, I've been waiting to bring up this Minions fact for a very long time.
Been sitting on it.
I've been sitting on it, and hopefully we'll have Jeff Stormer on the podcast soon.
Lucy is like, no, I don't want any of that. I don't want this doll. I don't want any of this, negative energy. I don't want to hurt anybody. Blah, 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 blah. And Agnes is like, okay, then why did you kill Raven? You have her job now. And Lucy's like, I don't have her job. And they're like, who do you think you're the senior editor. Who do you think's going to get her job now that she's dead? And
she's like, they strapped me to a table with cloaks and tried to murder me.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're going to listen to my orders.
So Lucy is
This is the weirdest publishing house.
Lucy is about to storm out because of the accusations that Agnes is throwing her way.
Yeah.
And then blood starts pouring out of Agnes's mouth and her neck snaps. She kills Agnes. Or something kills Agnes.
Something.
So Lucy is like, if Perky is this bad, I'm going to destroy him. I am not going to be like Xavier and sacrifice human lives on purpose to feed a demon.
Yeah.
Lucy then drives Agnes's Yugo back to the city.
Okay.
Which again, if you're at the scene of a crime, I'm going to need you to not steal someone's car.
Yeah.
Okay? That's not good.
Yeah, especially also a Yugo. That's
Bad
a
crimes.
crazy car to
Bad
steal.
at crimes.
It's a Yugoslavian-made car.
She gets back to where the office building is.
Yeah.
And she's walking through the park, and she gets attacked by some punk rockers.
Okay.
All right? There's some punk rockers in the park.
Okay.
I know. This is great. Punk rockers in the park, and they're like, hey, lady, what's in the box? Because she's carrying that little fucking toilet paper box.
Yeah.
Because she wants to trap Perky
Right,
back in
the
there.
box, yeah.
And anyway, she scares the shit out of them. I think she maybe flashes the knife at them. I forget.
Okay.
Anyway, they all run away, scared, except for one girl falls down in front of her, and she is like, "Hey, are you cold? Like you're wearing a denim jacket. Like, do you want my coat?" Because she's like being nice to her, and then she gives her Fabian's fur coat, which she's been wearing in this whole time.
Oh no.
Which I'm like, you drugged him, and then you stole his fur coat, and now you're giving it away to some girl in the
who just
park?
tried to murder you?
Yeah, who's trying to steal from you or whatever, mug you. And then she trades the coat with the punk rock girl and takes her studded denim jacket because she believes that the spikes are made of silver or iron or steel and to protect her.
No, they're
and
plastic.
I was like, even back then they weren't made of steel.
Yeah,
Lucy.
they're fucking plastic.
They were
you
probably
idiot.
just basic metal back then.
I don't even think they were fucking metal. I'm just saying
In
they're
the
like
80s they
plated.
were.
But they were like plated.
I mean, when I had one of those old jackets, it was heavy as fuck because
Okay.
it was real metal.
All right.
So anyway, she climbs the fire escape because she's sneaking in,
Okay.
dressed as a punk rocker now.
No, she's dressed as a Hot Topic manager. Okay? She's dressed as a
You
Hot
mean-
Topic manager.
How dare you besmirch the name of a Hot Topic
I'm not
manager?
besmirching the name of Hot Topic manager. I'm just
A
saying.
Hot Topic manager would never do this.
What, climb
Would
in through a
steal
window?
Someone's coat? A fur coat? No. I'm really mad at her about this.
Okay.
I've forgiven a lot of bad behavior.
Can you tell me this?
Yeah,
Is Fabian okay?
we'll get there.
Okay.
So she climbs up the fire escape. She falls off the ladder into a dumpster. Digby comes out of the fire escape because he's smoking, and he's like, "Hey, get out of the dumpster, weirdo!" And she's like, "It's me. I forgot my door code isn't working." And he's like, "Come around the front. I'll let you in." And she goes to the front door. Digby lets her in, and he's like, "Meet me in my office in 10 minutes and bring me a Diet RC Cola from the vending machine."
Diet RC. Okay.
He's got to name him, like you said. Got to name him. And she's like, "Okay, I just have to stop at my office." And then she, instead of going right to her office, she goes to Gail's desk because she wants to find Gail's gun, but it's not there.
Okay. Yep. I forgot about Gail's gun.
Never forget about Gail's gun. So she goes back to her office, and there's her purse. And the first thing she does is she opens it, and she opens the compact that's a mirror, and she checks her makeup, which I feel like after all of this might not be the first thing I do, but
Yeah.
okay for her. She checks her makeup, and in the back of her reflection, she sees someone behind her. But it's not someone. It's actually a black void. It's a vast darkness in a human shape. And then she turns to look, and there's nothing there except Perky sitting on the shelf. And then she looks back in the mirror, and there it is again, the demon's true form. And this is the moment she realizes everything is real about Perky.
Yeah.
He is a demon personified, and he has chosen her for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she grabs the doll, puts it in the box, and then heads to Digby's office. As she's walking towards the staircase, she hears a shout coming from the basement. And she goes towards the door, and she hears, again, help, help. And it's in a British accent. It's Fabian.
What?
So she runs down the stairs, and then she gets to like the top landing part, and she's like, something isn't right about this. This is probably a trap from those employees with the cloaks. Why would Fabian even be here? Whatever. And then she hears him yell help again, and she runs in the basement anyway, and hears Fabian laying in a puddle of his own blood.
No, not Fabian.
I know. So Lucy takes off her jacket and presses it against the open hole in Fabian's chest.
No.
And when I tell you, I was so mad. I was like, we're putting gutter punk jackets on open wounds?
You could have put a goddamn fur coat on it, and he could have died in luxury.
You could have like ripped your shirt. That you don't know where that teenager's been.
That's so fucking crazy. Also,
I
you
know
just fell in a
gutter punks.
dumpster.
You were in a dumpster.
You were just fell in a dumpster.
This is not sanitary. I was so mad. And she's like,
honestly,
what
I hate Lucy Myers. I hate her so much. Because, by the way, I've rewritten this part.
Yeah.
Fabian Nightingale is Bowen Yang. I've rewritten him as Bowen Yang.
Perfect.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
Lucy Myers is probably Ariana Grande because she sucks. Okay.
Yeah, she is short and little. You're right.
She's short and little, and she has bangs, and she would wear a scrunchie, and she'd be able to play, like, listen, she is fine on everything else, and I'm sure when I go see Wicked, I've heard she's incredible in it. That's fine, but I also just don't trust her as a person.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
not around husbands. Whoa.
No!
So, she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, when I woke up from my nap, I was like, I bet this dumb bitch went back to that office. He doesn't say that, but that's basically what he says. And she's
Bowen
like,
Yang as the character would say it, though.
and she's like, but I drugged you. And she's like, how are you even walking? And he's like, babe, I didn't offer you horse tranquilizers. It was just a couple of lewds to take the edge off. You think a couple of lewds are going to take me down? And I was like, Fabian, you're the greatest character in this book.
This is such, I just wish the book was him.
Yeah, I want to follow Fabian's journey.
I want.
I want to do quaaludes and wear fur coats and drink absinthe.
But also it would be very funny to have just like this guy who's like, and then I swung by my friend and she works at this publisher and she's a fucking mess. And then she shows up like, I'm being haunted by a demon from a toilet box. And he's like, whatever. Take some fucking quaaludes.
Calm down, take a nap.
Oh no, she's gone. Where'd she go? I mean, fuck. She thought she drugged me. Moron. I'm like Rasputin, okay? You need to shoot me. You have to shoot me.
He did get shot.
I know. That's what I'm saying, though. It's like you have to fucking. I'm Rasputin. You tried to poison me, and then you shoot me, and then I'm still gonna have to be drowned, okay?
So she's like, how'd you even get in? And he's like, I was circling the building looking for you because I knew you fucking came back here, idiot. And I was gonna throw rocks at your window, office window, but then I went to the alleyway and I heard a loud bang and I woke up down here. So somebody shot him in the alleyway.
Okay.
And so she is like, I'm gonna go call for help. And when she gets to the top of the stairs, the door is locked, obviously. And so when she came back down and was talking to him, she could smell the distinct odor of Digby's cologne on him. And that's when she knew that Digby shot him because she could smell the Calvin Klein obsession on his body.
Calvin Klein obsession.
And so she comes up with this plan. It's very convoluted, but she convinces the maintenance man who appears now and again this whole book. He's a bad guy. He just is like the cleanup guy. Like wherever there's a murder, the maintenance man shows up and just doesn't ask questions.
Yeah.
He's got 10 kids. He's got bill to pay.
He's Scruffy from Futurama.
Yeah. So
yeah.
She's like, listen, get Fabian in the elevator and take him to the hospital. And she's like, not the morgue, the hospital, right? And whatever. So Fabian goes to the hospital. She goes up to Digby's office.
I'm to just tell you right now,
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that.
Yes.
Fabian needs to survive.
Yeah.
Fabian is our last girl. Okay?
Yeah. Final girl.
Thank you. Final girl.
We get to Digby's office, which is his old dad's office, and he looks evil as fuck behind this big desk. He's like crazy looking.
And he's all coked up.
And she is like, I apologize for my tardiness, but it's been a really long day because of this. And she slams down the Perky box on the desk. And meanwhile, this dude is slicing rails on the desk.
Yeah.
He cuts a fat line of grayish powder and snorts it and is like, oh yeah, that's good shit. And then Digby pushes the mirror to her, and she says, a quote from the book, "No thanks, I'm with Nancy Reagan on this one." Bitch.
What?
Bitch.
What?
And he says,
I could hear Ariana Grande saying that too. No, thank you. I'm with Nancy Reagan on this one.
Nancy Reagan. No, I'm not going to say anything.
The throat goat?
Anyway, he looks at her and he goes, "It's not Coke," he says, as he rubs the powder on his teeth. "It's Daddy." Sorry.
It's Daddy?
It's Daddy.
He's doing lines of his dad's ashes?
Yeah. And he rubbed them on his teeth, so his teeth are all black. Oh, no. He looks at the box and he says, "After my dad died, my lawyer handed me a letter and explained everything about what's in that box." He reveals that he's going to sell the building to a developer and cash out.
Yeah.
He wants to make a deal with Perky, and that's why he shot the British guy and put him in the basement. Because he's like, I give blood to the thing, and then it works.
Blood to the blood god, skull for the skull throne.
Yeah.
We got it.
So he pulls out his gun, Gail's gun, and he aims it at Lucy, and when he fires, it jams. And so she gets up and goes to run out of the room, but the door is locked. And she turns around, and he's like, "My dad had a secret button under the desk to lock the door."
What is he, Matt Lauer?
Matt Lauer does.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, yeah.
Okay.
So now he's threatening her with the knife.
Yeah.
And smiling with his
Wait, this knife?
Okay, no knife. With his black teeth. And they fight, whatever. It's the whole thing. She's trying to get to the button to unlock the door. And he ends up stabbing her hand through the desk. And he's like, "That's enough blood for the Perky," whatever. And he leaves her and he goes downstairs. And as she's like kind of passing out from pain, stuck to the desk by a knife, she hears a loud commotion outside, like crash, bang, cops, like the whole thing. She comes to, and when she wakes up, her hand is no longer attached to the desk.
Good.
And was bandaged, and Cal is sitting across from her, an incredible intern apparently. He informs her that there was a terrible accident and that Digby was hit by a drunk driving cab out front. Sloppy Joe comes in and hands her a list of the staff, and some of the names are highlighted. And she says, "What's this?" And he says, "This is the list of those people that voted for you. Those 6 people," right? And
The cloaks.
And she's the only person at the publishing house that has a senior title. So she's the boss now. That's why.
That's not how businesses work.
It's how businesses work.
Okay.
It's 1986.
Okay.
And we're not going to ask any questions about that.
Okay.
And so she asked Joe to bring in the 6 people that tried to hurt, or 5 people, because
Raven's dead. Yeah.
And so she asked Joe to bring in the staff that tried to hurt her. And they come into her office, and she gives them kind of like, she's not the boss yet. They're coworkers. But she gives them this kind of like speech about starting a new day and the spirit of forgiveness for the holiday and how sorry she is to hear about Digby, especially after everything that happened. But they need to come together and be coworkers and blah, blah. And so whatever. Like, so she gives them this rousing speech, and they're all like, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, everything is cool now.
Okay.
All right? We're not going to strap you to a desk anymore."
We tried to murder you, but you still got reelected.
Yeah. So next chapter, she is the boss publisher now. It's been a few weeks later. A few weeks, bing, bang, boom. She's running this whole company.
One's followed up.
Doesn't even have the last name.
No one's even followed up the stolen Yugo.
No.
She stole an old lady's car,
No.
and the old lady had her neck snapped. Somebody had to have found her by now.
Nope.
You're telling me that the NYPD
Uh-huh.
could not find a stolen Yugo in 1986,
Well, there's too many of them.
and they're hoping that someone would drive it to an Altoona McDonald's?
Oh, fucking Altoona.
Yeah.
I've been there so many times. It
I
makes
know
me
you
so
have.
mad.
I know.
When you said Altoona, I was like, that. We used to have a family reunion there. It
Yeah.
was the worst.
Yeah, you
Hate
hate
that
it.
place.
You've spent our entire marriage just being like, I will never go to Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Never again. And then now it's all over the
Now
news.
everyone knows about it, and now everyone knows about Altoona pizza as well.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Don't even call it. It's just bread with cheese on it. So next chapter, she's the boss publisher. It's a few weeks later. She's overlooking the park from her new office, which is the big boss's office.
Yeah.
She's thinking about the price that this cost her, right? And she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Perky is satiated now, right? He's full. He took enough lives. And when he gets hungry again, she's just going to feed his need with the staffers who crossed her from Joe's list. Right?
That's not going to buy us so much time.
And
now.
that is how the book ends.
Oh.
I do want to read you the epilogue because I read you the prologue.
Yeah.
Epilogue. New York City.
Yeah.
December 1st, 2019.
2019?
2019, baby.
Perky survived 9/11? What? I'm just trying to picture. What if Berkey was behind 9/11? He was like, I need 3,000 lives. That'll buy you 18 years.
All right. This is the epilogue.
Okay.
Tell me, Miss Myers, when was the last time Blackwood Patterson book hit the New York Times bestsellers list? As a woman, I respect everything you have done. Outside of Fabian Nightingale, horror is dead. We both know the horror boom was a fad. Even Stephen King is writing mysteries now. People want romance. If you're going to have vampires, there needs to be romance. Oh, I've got the internship? Awesome. I love the doll on your shelf. So weird. My grandma had one just like that. Is there something wrong with you? Mrs. Myers, you okay? I'm going to call 911.
Nice.
The end.
That's nice. I like that the very end of the book, it is implied that Perky is the one who's going to make, you know? And in fact, if we really think about it, this whole book, Perky really has been the Shadow Daddy rocking her world. That's Grief Cat, y'all. Just to bring him back a little bit.
Oh, no.
I feel like more y'all should follow Grief Cat on Instagram, TikTok, and other places.
So that's Secret Santa, the
That
Christmas December book of 2024.
I will say, I'm going to tell you this right now.
Okay.
I think it was good.
Yeah.
I do think it was good. I think it could have been more Christmassy. I feel like...
I think when I read the book, there was a lot more Christmas in it. I removed some of the Christmas to get through the story.
No, I understand that.
You know what
I understand that. I just feel like in the set dressing, in the murder, like somebody should have been stabbed in the nose with a candy cane.
Yes.
Not a mechanical pencil.
Yes, exactly.
Choking on a fruitcake, good. That's a good step.
Choking on a fruitcake, got that.
Having your leg broken by a pile of fucking manuscripts. Could have been a pile of presents.
Or like if you had Halloween decorations on there, why weren't there Christmas decorations that he could have?
That's what I mean. You know, like finding
it.
somebody murdered and they're hanging from the Christmas tree. You know what I mean? Like they're stuck inside the thing.
Also, snorting ashes of your dead father, not Christmas.
That's very much not Christmas. That is Easter.
No.
What? But what I will do, I'm gonna put this. I'll put this upper mid.
Upper mid.
Upper mid of the book clubs.
Very entertaining.
It is very entertaining. You were right because we talked about it. It took a while to take off though.
Yeah.
Those first two chapters, the first half hour of this, a little brutal for me.
Yeah.
Took a little bit.
I know. It's hard for you to listen.
It's hard for me to really lock in. The ending was good. I do enjoy the ending.
Yeah.
It also did have that good horror ending of like it's a cycle that never ends.
Yeah.
It was good on that part. It would have been more interesting though if I think in the Prologue, if there had been an office setting there too. Do you know what I mean? Like if
well,
there
I
had been.
assume that the Nazi officer probably worked in an office setting.
Well, yeah, I mean he's an officer.
Yeah.
But no, but I'm saying is like I think that if they had somehow. Like that, I don't know. It's just to keep the cycle.
Yeah, to keep the cycle.
There's like a cycle to it. I think that they could have leaned a little bit more into. But I'll give it a. We've never come up with a star system.
We probably should sit down and come up with a star system.
Yeah, whether or not it's a 1 out of 10 or a 5.
I think out of the things we've read this year, this is like right in the middle. It was fun. It was a fast read.
I'm gonna go upper middle.
I think like
it's
I said,
no Red Rabbit.
When I write these little outlines, they're not little. I do have to remove many adjectives and descriptors to get through the story so I can explain it to you. So there was a lot of, like we were saying, like Diet RC Cola. There's funny jokes about Donald Trump in here. There's there's all kinds of timely 80s stuff that happens.
Yeah.
But like, so that was fun. There was like a little hit of nostalgia, like Teddy Ruxpin jokes, things like that. Yeah. So I enjoyed that little hit down memory lane of what the 80s were like as a child. But so yeah, I think I had a fun time. I gotta tell you, I was so surprised that it started in Germany in 1945. I was like, wait, what? I thought this was a Christmas book.
I'm shocked too. That's crazy. But also, again, with like, I wasn't too shocked because of things like Krampus.
Yeah.
Because of typically Germanic stuff having to do with the holidays anyway.
Yeah.
And with hauntings and all those other things. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say upper mid. I don't want to put it directly in the middle because there's aspects of it I enjoyed.
It's better than the Moon Zombie one.
It's definitely better than Moon Zombie. I'm going to say, but I'm looking at totality. I'm looking at all book clubs.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, though, that I really did enjoy, I really loved Fabian Nightingale. That character is great. I love the guy pretending he was OSHA. That's so funny.
I was like, he showed up with a badge, an OSHA badge.
You know what's also nice too is like it's the 80s and it's like, oh yeah, he has a Vietnam PTSD. So he's got shell shock from Vietnam. It's like, okay, in the 80s that was fun to make fun of. Now you're not like, oh, he has a lot of horrors from what he saw in Afghanistan in 2009. You're like, okay, well, we're not going to make light of that.
Yeah. Ooh, jinx, you owe me the Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Let's do shout-outs.
Here you go.
What? No.
No, we're not sponsored. Anyway, with that, we'll take our quick break, and we're going to come back. Our final shout-outs.
Of the year.
This is the season 2 finale, and we're going to do some shout-outs. And when we come back, we'll let you guys know just the last little bits. Here we go.
Pearlmania, 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 Pearlmania.
500.net is where you want to go to be able to become a Patreon member. Or you can go down the show notes and you can click that link if you want to gift a Patreon membership to a friend or family. You're on.
I'm on?
You're
okay,
on.
Good.
Did you hear yourself now?
I can't hear myself. Not
You
that
can't
well.
hear yourself that well?
Maybe a little bit more.
Maybe.
Yeah, there it is. That's nice.
There you go.
That's nice.
There you go. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay, because I want you to be able to hear these names.
I want to hear them.
Okay, we're going to start off here at the very top.
Okay.
And remember, I always just read these in the list of as they come to us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Heard it.
Number 1 on the list is untrustworthy farts.
What a doozy to start with.
Yeah,
Hey, hun.
that's a big doozy.
Everybody knows about an untrustworthy fart. You know?
Everybody does. After that, we have Mia.
Hey, hun.
After that, we have Sinister Feelings.
Well, they read the book.
They did read the book. And also, it's spelled CYN in that Sinister Feelings.
Hey,
and so
hun.
thank you so much. And thank you also for double checking that the name came over properly. This next one is Shadow _daddy _is _rockin _ my _ downline.
Hey, baby.
That's so good.
Hey, hun.
Hey,
Thanks for
Shadow
that.
Daddy
Thank you.
rocking my downline.
Thank you for that.
After that, we have Scott K.
Hey, hun.
After that, we have Jewish Snail.
He's kosher. Hey, hun.
Jewish Snail is just so funny to me. It's just a snail that complains. Okay. After that, we have Kame _4 _ Alex _ stay _ 4 _ the _ Mrs. It's Kristen BT Dubs.
Hey, hun.
That is the most common story of this podcast.
Yeah.
People coming and like, oh, I heard he has a podcast. Let me go check it out. His wife is amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like that.
And
Little
honestly,
ego boost.
listen, I think that our podcast audience is probably the only one that actually has a fuller understanding of my character.
Yeah. that's
Because
true.
of that. Because they get to see the interactions with you, the things that we're more interested in. Usually people just see me just ranting and raving and screaming into the internet
Yep. Mm-hmm.
about different things. I
Like,
mean,
that guy yells a lot.
listen, I am not currently screaming about John Fetterman and what a bag of shit he is because we wanted to record this podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I just know that tonight he's going to, after the baby goes to sleep, I need to go yell in the garage.
Fucking John Fetterman. After that, we have Frankenstein's Momager.
Wait.
What a name.
Chris Jenner could never. Hey,
No,
hun.
Frankenstein's Momager is such a good name. That is incredible. I actually do, across social media, I do follow quite a few momagers of
do?
like, yeah, I'm not going to name them, but I do follow some of them because I notice they follow me.
Whoa.
And I'll discover that they follow me and I'm like,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, but there's a couple of like some bigger name influencers because I'm like, oh, their mom likes me. And then I'm like, I'm going to follow you back. And that way I
Yeah.
can see, I'm like, let's see, Momager.
Who was the famous person's mom that followed you that hated you on Instagram? Was that Nicole Richie's mom?
That was Nicole Richie's mom.
That was so funny. That was
Hated
my
me.
favorite.
I forgot about that. Nicole's Richie. I refuse to follow her back.
I know. She would just
She
just
would
follow you
rail.
and just
She-
rant and rave.
Screaming in my comments
So-
about.
and I was like, I was like, this woman's really mad. And I started looking and following some breadcrumbs. And I was like, this is Nicole Richie's mom.
Yeah, because she was like, I think, wasn't she like a full RFK mom or some shit? Yeah, she went like full crunchy crazy.
I was like, yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely Frankenstein's momager. Not you, though. You're a good person.
Not you.
You're a good person.
You're cool.
Yeah.
Alleged.
Wait, what?
After that, we have the _adjuster _ 2028.
2028? Let's go.
Luigi 2028. Who would a Luigi run with?
How much evidence? Zero evidence.
You got zero. This is how much evidence I've been given. Nothing. I've been given nothing. No evidence of his guilt. I love that they found him in a strip mall at Altoona.
Oh my God. They said
that's
listen,
incredible.
in a dentist office.
Here's what's wild is they could have gone to like a Philadelphia lawyer.
No.
And then had him just drive out to Altoona. Like,
somebody would have. But they want an Altoona attorney.
They wanted an Altoona attorney, and that's who they got pointed in the direction of.
You know why? Because wherever you have a lawsuit or litigation going, you usually want to find an attorney from that area because they usually have relationships with the judges.
Yeah.
And so a Philly attorney going to Altoona, there would be inherent like biases from the judge.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this big city attorney thinks he's coming in.
But hear me out though.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a My Cousin Vinny situation going.
I bet he does. I bet
if we had a Joe Pesci coming in, being like, "All right,"
I feel like this guy is got a little Joe Pesci energy.
I feel like he does.
When he did he had the purple tie.
He does.
This
evidence. Is how much evidence.
Show me the evidence.
After the adjuster 2028, by the way, we have JoJo.
Hey, hon.
And finally, our last Patreon, our last shout out
of 2024.
Of 2024, we have Rachel O'Malley.
Hey, Rach. Hey, hon.
Hey, Rachel. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us on this journey that has been this year. We'd like to remind you before we go that we will have another episode of Vibing Out with the Food Moron exclusive at Pearlmania500.net or patreon.com/Pearlmania500. You can check all that in the show notes. Mrs. P, do you have any final words before we get into our shout out comment of the week?
Okay, number one, let me think. It's holiday season.
Yep.
It's stressful.
Yep.
Take a break.
Yep.
Drink a water.
Yep.
Take a nap.
Yep.
If you're buying gifts for somebody,
yep.
Buy books from a local bookstore, not
yep.
Barnes & Noble.
Yep.
That's all.
I'm gonna say this: if you work in the customer service industry, go.
We got you in our prayers.
First thing, we got you in our prayers. But second thing, after the holidays and before New Year's, don't take gruff from fucking nobody, and know that your business cannot replace you, and actually will forget about anything that you do that's worth like a demerit or a write up. They just will, because they're in the middle of so much fucking weird shit in transition during that time, and they're just trying to make numbers for the end of the year. Yeah. Fucking slack a little bit. Maybe show up to work late. What are they gonna do?
Who cares?
Who gives a shit? Number two, I'm going to say, I want you all to get in the comments.
Okay.
Get in the comments.
All right.
To prove you made it to the end of the episode, and type the following words: justice for Fabian. He's my favorite character.
Facts.
He's my favorite character that I've read in any of these books. And I wish he existed in the ACOTAR universe. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much to every single person who's listening. Thank you to all the Pearl Maniacs. Thank you so much for a wonderful, incredible year. And we will see you in 2025.
Too many frauds and too many scammers that we wish weren't real. Too many cons and too many spammers, and we're starting to feel like we've got too many tabs open. It's too many tabs. Remember to smile.